Okay, making sure this comes on. Okay, alright. Hey guys, welcome. Welcome, and let me double check something over here on my channel, on my TV that is. Make sure everything is up and running. Hold on. Alright. Hey guys, welcome. Okay, there we go, just making sure. Yeah, but welcome. Sorry if there's any lag. I do apologize. But I hope you had a great new year. It is indeed 2024, and this is the first live stream of 2024 of Topics on My Mind. Now, I know I haven't done much Topics on My Mind for, I guess, some time. You know, it's been a while. Excuse me. But here we are back again. And we got a lot of topics to talk about, even some that I've already done videos on this past week. And everything. In fact, in the past 48 hours, if you will, I've done some videos on. So I'm going to bring. I will be talking about those again, as well as topics related to them, as well as I got other things to talk about along the way. But first of all, like I usually like to do, and I have a script, kind of like give myself. I wouldn't say script, but kind of got myself a little bullet points here to kind of let myself know what I'm going to do first. And the first thing I want to talk about, of course, is what happened over this break and everything, which, by the way, it went quick. There's no doubt about it. It did go quick here at my house and everything. But what was interesting, though, about it, to where it felt like it went quick, but it didn't. It felt long, but it was also quick and stuff like that, is my mom was off. My mom got off on the 15th. So usually she gets off on the Friday that precedes Christmas, if you will. So in other words, she gets off, not exactly like days before Christmas or anything. No. She gets off basically like, let's say on the Friday before Christmas and everything. And it all depends on the school. It all depends on the place she works at, the school, the Head Start, if you will. And what the school district that they're aligned with, their schedule's aligned with that. What it, decides to do when it comes to Christmas break, comes to Christmas break and everything. And this year she got off on the 15th. So what that did is it allowed her to have basically 2 full weeks off, if you will, from work. So basically from the end of the 15th. And if you want to count the weekends, you had the 16th all the way up till yesterday, the 2nd, January 2nd. So she had mainly about, you could say almost 2.5, almost 3 weeks off when you combine that all together. That's what she had. But usually, again, it all depends on what the school district does, schedule-wise. And that's what the Head Start that she works at aligns with, on their schedule. And sometimes in previous years, there have been times where she'll get off on the Friday before Christmas, but then Christmas is like, the following week, So like, for example, she was off on the 15th this year. Next year, because this year I should say, because this year is a leap year, from what I believe, this year is a leap year, she will probably get off on the 13th at the earliest, or because it is the 13th, she'll probably get off on the 20th. Maybe. It all depends. It all depends. If she's still working there by then as well, she might be, getting off on either the 13th, Friday the 13th, or on Friday the 20th. Because they like to usually make it a little later. I think what they like to do is go beyond, 15 days, or get at 15 days exactly, like, what they did this year, or at least get a date that's closer to Christmas than something that's not. And from what I've seen in the past, she'll get off, like I say, a little later, and it's a lot closer to Christmas. But mainly it's because because the school district wants to work not the school district, but the Head Start, I should say, wants to work with the schedule that the school district has. So the school district so the Livermore School District for 2024-2025 could say, all right, Christmas break will be, or Christmas vacation will start on the 13th, Friday the 13th. There you go. You got until the 2nd of January next year, which could work. Oh, could happen. Or you got to the 1st of next year. Because, like I said, this is a leap year. We're on the 3rd now. This would literally be like, I would say maybe the way it's going to work out, because, you know, she was kind of surprised that they were scheduled to go back today, which is a short day for them, because like in about a few hours, the kids are going to, if there's any kids there today, you know, they're probably still on break, but, you know, she'll be going, you know, those kids will be going home after 12, and then she and the teachers will have the rest of the day to do whatever they got to do, like catch up with things, you know, see how, you know, probably wonder what each other did for Christmas, stuff like that. And long story short, she'll go home after that and then go from there. But if it's going to be the way I think it's going to be this year, you know, to where it could be the 20th is being the day they get let out, I could see, as a result, basically the following week, which would be Christmas, would be like on a Wednesday. It would be on a Wednesday. I could see her having that week, and I could see her having the week that leads into New Year's and all that. And I see her probably going back the Monday after New Year's, which, again, New Year's next year would be on the 5th, as far as I know. It will be on the 5th. And not the 5th, but hold on for a second. All right. Let me check something, guys. I'm kind of getting a little scrambled here, if you will. So yeah, this is a leap year. So if I go forward here on the calendar, getting a little, I know you're thinking, oh, it's getting tongue-tied again. Yeah, I am. But the way I look at it is she'll be getting off on the 20th. Basically, the way the calendar aligns here, it'll be the 20th. So that means she will have, so in other words, that means Christmas would be on the 25th. That's what I was trying to say. New Year's would be on a Wednesday as well, which means she'd be going back January 6th. That's how it's viewed. So basically, again, it's all based on the calendar and everything. Things just happen to align in a way to where you could have 2 full weeks off, along with an additional 2 days. You know, that being New Year's Day, which was Monday, and then yesterday, which I guess is kind of surprising, but not really, because they want to give people time to get their bearings together. But next year it's going to be totally different, because it's going to be basically her getting off, her and her fellow teachers getting off at the same time the school district does, which I'm assuming is going to be around the 20th of December and not going back to January 6th. So that's going to make Christmas shopping a little bit more challenging if she doesn't get a head start on it at first or before that. But yeah, that's going to be one of the situations to where, you know, she'll only have like 5 days between getting off of work and Christmas and everything. And then essentially 12 days between that and between getting off and New Year's. And then you add in 4 more days and she'll have basically 2 weeks or 16 days like she did today. But yeah, it kind of works out. It'll work out basically to where she'll have to go back on a Monday, if that's how they do it. Again, you know, they could do it on the 13th and everything, and, you know, we could just, you know, go from there, and that's about it. That's about it. But outside of that, you know, like I said, the vacation, her break went by fast. It was like long, but it was fast. Sometimes that could be a good thing. I mean, she even was probably wondering, like, why didn't they just give us an additional week off? You know, because it would have made sense. I mean, she's going back on a short day. She's only got 2 full days after that. And then they go back next week. And then they have the Martin Luther King holiday off. So it's like, you know, to her, to her, it's basically like, you know, why didn't they just give us 3 weeks? And, you know, I think she has to remember, and I'm sure she does, that her job goes off of the school district schedule there in Livermore. You know, that's what it does. It's, it's not her choice. It's not her choice or anything. It's the school district's choice. Now, she has time. She's been there so long, over 20 plus years. She has time to where she could say, you know what, guys, I'm going to take the rest of this week off. Or she could have let them know in advance that, hey, I know we're going back on Wednesday on the 3rd, but I'm going to take the rest of that week off and give myself a 3-week vacation. She could have done that, but she didn't. She decided, she's going to go back to work because honestly, I guess she misses, being back in her routine. Even though she likes sleeping in, and believe me, she slept in, a lot. Not as much, not as long as, some people might say, someone like her should sleep in based on their job. But, she got a decent amount of sleep. I mean, there are times, I'll tell you that I was basically, waking up early because I worked at Kohl's, and I had to get used to that schedule for a bit. And I woke up early, like I woke up early today. I woke up early today, and as you can see here, I already had my bed made. I had my bed made a couple hours ago, and I just, got in the shower about, almost 2 hours ago, if you will. Well, not 2 hours ago, but almost 2 hours. And yeah, I'm just in that routine sometimes to where it's like, just go with the flow and try to do what you can. Use the time that you have, or the time you're allotted to. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. I'm using the time that I'm allotted to. But yeah, she would sleep in at times to where I'd get up early because also I wanted to catch the bowl games, and all that. And one of the things I mentioned in the video is, how one of the things that interests me about these college bowl games is, whether or not, talents will go all out and everything. Well, not talents, but if the bowl sponsors and, owners, will go all out, for these bowl games to make them feel special. In fact, even Pat McAfee said something on his show where, and they got a clip of it. I think it's his show. It's on college football pregame. Well, he's wondering if the bowl games are losing their luster, and I don't think they are. I think it's basically the fact that the sponsors and the sponsors, promoters, and the owners, they need to put more effort in, to the presentation, of the bowl games. Like, for example, the Sun Bowl, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, formerly John Hancock Sun Bowl and all that, they put effort into their game between Notre Dame and Oregon State by making it feel like a big deal. Both end zones were painted up, to look real nice. Like, you can almost mistake the Sun Bowl for a New Year's Six-Day Bowl. That's how good it looked. And there were other bowl games that put out effort as well. Maybe not as much as the Sun Bowl did and some other bowl areas did, but they put out effort. They put out effort to at least make it feel like a big deal. But others didn't. Like, one of the biggest glaring examples from what I saw was, the 68 Ventures Bowl between South Alabama and Eastern Michigan. And all because the bowl game was actually located on South Alabama's home turf. So it's like, okay, fine. The only effort you put in there was putting the 68 Ventures logo where the Jaguar logo was, but you couldn't just take one of the other end zones and paint over the South Alabama thing and put Eastern Michigan. You couldn't do that, or you couldn't just blanket both out into the colors respectively of each school. I mean, come on, put some effort. Put some effort in everything. But anyway, but anyway, to get back on topic, I would get up early just to check those out, depending on when they would come on ESPN. And there will be times that I'll get up early, I'll have my TV on, but my mom will still be asleep. She will be. She will still be asleep and everything. Even to the point that even when I open this door to go and use the bathroom or go turn off the lights in the living room, and not the living room lights, but the porch light and the night light in the kitchen, because, it's getting daylight and everything. I would go and do that and she'd still be asleep. She would not hear anything. She would not, honestly. And all because of the fact that she basically wanted to get all the rest she could, because I'll be honest with you, there were times, even when I was working at Kohl's, well, I would get up early. I would have my alarm on my phone and on my clock set to get up early. And what would happen is I would get up early, I'd, get myself a coffee, or probably get my coffee set up, go into the shower, because I had my clothes set up and ready to go in the shower. I basically would take my clothes like I did with these today. I got these out clean clothes that I washed the other day. So I put these on my bed here while I was making my bed, and then afterwards, okay, hold on for a second. Let me get some coffee here. What I'm saying is, afterwards, I sat down, did what I just did there, got some coffee, and then picked up my clothes, put them in the bathroom, and everything. Made sure made sure I didn't miss anything or anything. Make sure everything, like the doors are locked and all that. And what I did is I went in the bathroom, got myself cleaned up and changed in there. And normally, like I was trying to say, I would have these clothes, if I was still working, in the bathroom, ready to go the night before. So that way I can get in there, clean up, get out and everything after changing, get my lunch ready, stuff like that. Well, there have been a couple of times, this is what I was trying to say, that I would get up, go and do that, and my mom, she would still be asleep. So I'd be like, okay, her alarm's going to go off. I'll let her sleep a little bit, let her get up on her own. And most of the time she would do that. But there were several times, mind you, that I would do my routine, get out of the shower, and then I would notice my mom's lights were still out and she was still in bed. So I'd have to be like, Mom, wake up. It's 4:30, 4:45. And she'd be like, huh, what? And I would tell her, she'd be like, oh. And I wouldn't say she would jump out of bed, but she would get out of bed being like, she would look at her phone going like, I thought I set my alarm. What happened? And I think what happened is she even admitted this as well. She'll get so tired, or she'll be so tired and want to sleep in, that she'll hit the alarm on her clock or press the, put the sleep alarm or sleep option on her clock or something, or even turn it off, without knowing it, and she'd go back to sleep because she's that tired. So again, going back to what I was saying, when I would get up early sometimes during the break, she would still be asleep no matter what I would do, because of the fact that she was catching up on her rest. She was that tired. But what's funny is my last day was the Friday before her last day. Was a week before her last day, which was the 15th. Mine was the 8th. So what happened is, I get up. So what happens is I get up on that Monday, which I think was, what was it, the 9th? The 11th. It was the 11th. So I remember getting up that day, and I had to get my mom up because she was asleep. She was still asleep. She didn't get up. So I had to wake her up and everything. And she even told me, Brian, set your alarm so I can get up. You might have to be my backup. Oh, I think it was Monday. Or it was somewhat during her last week before her break. It was during one of the, I think it was Monday or somewhat during her last week. It might have been the Monday. But anyway, she told me, have your alarm ready to help me out, because I think she's realizing that the tireder she gets from working, the more she just wants to sleep in, the more she wants to be like, me kind of deal, if you will, and not want to get up. So yeah, basically she was doing a lot of that, on her break, basically catching up on, what she wanted to do but couldn't because of her job, if you know what I mean. But anyway, we got a lot taken care of during this break, I can tell you that. As a matter of fact, I will say this. When I was off, and I mentioned this in a video and everything, or at least kind of acknowledged it in a video, because my sister wanted it virally spread. She wanted it virally spread, if you will. She wanted it virally spread. I can tell you this. During the week, the week I was off, my sister was also off. She was also off because what she and my niece, her daughter, the oldest out of my nieces and nephews, my niece, what they did is they went to the Midwest. They went to Kansas, and they took care of what they needed to take care of. And in the video that I put up, she explains that. She explains all that because, again, she asked me and everybody else, because her and my niece both made videos they put on social media and they said, make this viral so that it doesn't happen to you and your family. And she and my niece on the 11th at night took a flight. We don't know if it was a red eye or not because they stopped in Vegas. So I don't think it was a red eye. It was on Spirit Airlines. And they went to Las Vegas. They went to not Las Vegas. They went to Kansas to go take care of things to kind of fix the mess that my father had gotten into because of what happened, and also to check up on him because he's now in a nursing home in Manhattan, Kansas. So they went there, and we would check in on them, kind of text them, see what's going on. And thankfully, they got most of what they needed to take care of, except my sister still has to get a few other loose ends. Not the major loose ends, but not big, but not major, just, loose ends that need to be taken care of because, even though she's got everything already taken care of, POA in her name, second POA in my niece's name, and so on. Even though they got all that taken care of, she has to take care of some other stuff. And it's not major, but it's just like, she's got to take care of this so that basically when the opportunity could arise, if possible, she even told our dad this, she will basically get him, drag his butt, bag him up if she has to, and drag him back out here to California. Those are kind of the fine-tuned things she has to take care of to possibly make that happen, to where he could still get the same care he's getting out there and everything, but also get it here, so that way he's with family. And even one of the ladies that works with him, a social worker or something, said, hey, it's better if you are with your family. There's no one out here for you. I mean, he has family there, but they're so far and scattered apart. It made us, when we were kind of similar, not saying we were totally, kind of pale in comparison, if you know what I mean. But yeah, basically, she took care of that. And it was in that same week that they were only gone for about 3 days. So they were only gone for 3 days, and you could just tell when she got back, and me and my mom, we saw her, she was just exhausted. It was like, okay, we know you had to take care of this, but damn, you need to schedule better. Anyway, in the same week when she got back, my second oldest nephew, he graduated high school. Well, actually, it was high school, basically diploma and everything, but it's like continuing school because, he wasn't up to snuff where he should have been. And now he is working for Tesla. He's working for Tesla in Fremont, and it's going to be a 12-hour shift. But it's basically going to be from 5 in the late afternoon into evening till 5 a.m. in the morning. And right now he's driving there from Patterson to Fremont to make his schedule to work, to train. But soon he may have to take a shuttle bus. Even though my niece has said she has heard some not so good things about the shuttle bus. But yeah, he's working there, and he's going to make some good money. I think he said it's going to be like 20 something an hour. So like 28 times 12 is, who knows? So, at 12 hours a day, that's like, 40 hours, so it's like 12, 24, 36, 48, 72. So 72 hours a day, unless they just go with the 3 days, and that falls under 40. So 72 times 20 something, that's a lot. So we'll see what happens. If he's good to go there. My honest opinion, I was thinking about this when I was showering. Showering and everything. He's got this job. He's going to commute, for right now until he gets something worked out with the shuttle. I've got a feeling what's going to happen, and this is just me, I've got a feeling what's going to happen is he might consider moving. That's just my opinion, but I got a feeling he's not going to like traveling on the shuttle that much. He's not going to want to keep driving that far. And he's going to want to have something closer. Now, according to my niece, there's a Tesla in Lathrop, if you will, that might be closer. But if I know anything from work, you have to work up to 90 days before you can even transfer over to the other warehouse, other location, I think, to work to be closer. So he's going to be working there for a while, working there until he can get something probably worked out transfer-wise. That's just my opinion. But if he ends up staying there and he doesn't transfer, and in my opinion, he's the kind of person that will either probably say, you know what, this is not for me, and give his notice, or he'll be the kind of person that will say, you know what, I want to still work here, I'm making good money, but I'm going to have to move closer. And he might just want to move out there. I'm not saying he will, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. And to me, when I look at that, I look at it the fact that it only takes one to start a domino effect of exodus, if you will, from where your family's at. In other words, it would take him going and moving out there for the rest of us to potentially follow. You know, but again, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we'll see. We'll see exactly what takes place. But yeah, he's working there. My niece might be joining him as well. She did a phone interview, and she's got an in-person interview coming up. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting ride for both of them. If she gets in, and everything. I think that's going to be very beneficial for her fiance, and her daughter. You know, her daughter and her son. You know, because her and her fiance want to move out of their apartment complex where they're at, because it's in a, well, I'll put it this way, it's in an area of Modesto that's like one side's decent, the other side's not. But the complex they're in, yeah, you know, they've had their history of very unusual, if not favorable, tenants, if you will. So she wants to get out of there, and if she gets in here at Tesla, that can open that door. I mean, along with what her fiance is doing as well, it can open that door for them, you know, down the line. Anyway, outside of that, I'm trying to get back into work, hopefully. I'm applying back at Target, and I think the difference between trying to get back at Walmart and Target is they let me go at Walmart because of my own stupidity, because of the fact that I did something I shouldn't have done, and I've documented that here on my channel. Target basically let me go because I was given 3 strikes. You know, on that 3rd strike, they had no choice but to release me. So I wasn't fired because of what I did at Walmart. I was fired because I hit my 3rd strike. But hopefully, you know, there's a difference to where, okay, if that's the situation, maybe I can get back in and basically say, hey, look, I've learned my lesson. I'm going to pay better attention to what I need to take care of. And hopefully that's all that it takes. That's all that it takes. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I definitely need to get something because my EDD right now is at is basically very low. It's getting to a point to where I'm probably going to have to rely on my mom soon, you know, for money and everything, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because I need my unemployment and everything. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult, which means I'm going to have to not be able to get certain things I want to get because I have to save money. I have to be very cautious with what I do. I have to be very cautious with what I do. But hopefully I'll get something before then. But outside of that, like I said, this was you know, an interesting 2 weeks that went by fast and everything. You know, what was interesting too is like I said in the channel update, and I mentioned this even, you know, before then. My nephew was here. For New Year's. We weren't too sure if he was coming or not because, you know, what happened about a couple of days prior, a few days after Christmas, and a couple of days prior to him showing up, which he showed up on Sunday. He showed up on Sunday and everything. So basically 3 days prior, which was, you know, 3 days after Christmas, he ended up going to the dentist and he got his wisdom wisdom teeth taken out. He got his wisdom teeth taken out, and yeah, it wasn't a pleasant feeling for him whatsoever. It was not a pleasant feeling for him. So they had to give him medication and everything to help bring the swelling down. It seems to be going down and everything. But yeah, usually he's more energetic, more chipper. I mean, I even offered to let him play my Super Mario Brothers Wonder game, but he was more into his Zelda game and all that. And you can just tell he wasn't himself. But he still did some of the things he does with my mom, like he watches movies with her. He plays board games with her and stuff. So he did what he did what he normally does when he's around her, but it was just more of a situation to where he just wasn't himself. You could see it, because he was still feeling the pain and everything. But hopefully he's getting better. But hopefully he'll get better before he goes back to school this Monday. Hopefully. Outside of that, my oldest sibling's husband also ended up in that hospital because he had something that affected him. Some people say it was cellulitis, or could have been cellulitis. They're not really sure. But thankfully, he's doing okay. He's back home, and whatever swelling he had because of what he had has gone down, and he's taking medication and all that. So he's doing good. He's doing fine. They just got to check. He went back to the hospital yesterday to check his blood pressure and everything. So everything's doing okay. Hopefully, nothing else comes of it. Outside of that, again, like I said, 2 weeks went by fast and everything. I did talk to my dad as well to see how he's doing. I also sent him stuff out via Amazon. I'm going to be sending more stuff out to him because my sister's going to send out a care package before she gets out there again. So he has stuff. So basically, I sent him some stuff out via Amazon. My middle sibling, second older sister sent him stuff out. So we're making sure he has stuff for himself to enjoy and wear and stuff like that. So, we did that over the 2 weeks and everything. These 2 weeks, they went by fast, but it was a fast that was kind of long. I'll put it that way. It was a fast that was kind of long and all that. So, yeah, pretty much, today is the start of things getting back to normal, if you will, as normal as they could be. We still have the Christmas decorations up. I'm sure a lot of you probably have yours still up. Because I think what's been happening lately is more people have been waiting to at least maybe the second month, the first, or depending on when the kids all go back to school and everything. I think people usually wait till the weekend before the kids go back, or they wait till the day the kids go back, and then they take the stuff down. I'm assuming, in my opinion, that parents probably probably ask and request for the day the kids go back to school off. They request that Monday off, and then what they do when the kids are gone is they start taking the decorations down and getting things back to normal. So honestly, I think what we're noticing is like a trend. We're noticing a trend, basically, to where parents will wait until the kids are back at school, and then that's when they'll start taking down the decorations without any interruptions and stuff like that. You don't want to be like John in a Garfield comic strip that they put up on the Garfield Facebook pages, to where he's trying to throw out the Christmas tree and everything, and he's trying to tell Garfield, it's done, Christmas is over, and Garfield's like, over my dead body or something like that. And instead of seeing the tree in the trash can where John was going to put it, you see John in the trash can, because Garfield's like, yeah, this thing's staying in here, and as long as it's still in here, Christmas is still happening, or still going on. So yeah, you don't, obviously parents don't want to have to deal with something equivalent to that, with kids kicking and screaming and all and everything. So anyway, yeah, the decorations are still up. We'll probably take them down this weekend, maybe even Martin Luther King weekend, because people will keep them up till after the national championship game in college football, or they'll keep them up until at least Martin Luther King weekend, because that way they'll have a little bit more time to work on things, fix things, and stuff like that. Anyway, with that said, it was a good Christmas break, winter break, holiday break. And like I said, it had some of its ups and downs, some of its moments and everything. But we all did pretty good. I mean, I'll tell you this, Christmas Day, at least Christmas night with the family. Yeah, I'll put it this way. It's one of the more memorable ones we're going to have. And that's all I'm going to say. But a little bit of advice, and I'm sure a lot of you have gone through this. When you're visiting family, make sure one of the members of your family, if they are of age, make sure one of the members of your family that's traveling with you to another family member's home for Christmas, Christmas night, that is, make sure they don't have too much to drink, if you know what I mean. But anyway, yeah, like I said, it was one of those kind of Christmases that, it was memorable for good reasons and not so good reasons, but that's all I'm going to say on that. Anyway, let's get on to our topics. Here that we are going to discuss. We're going to talk about. I'll probably get up and take a break, get a little more coffee in me, so I can get through this. But let's talk about the topics we are going to discuss today. Number 1, Mickey Mouse horror-themed movies, games, etc. coming out because of Steamboat Willie going into public domain, and why the horror fun may not last for some. And I'm going to talk about that. I've talked about it already, but after watching other videos and people talking about it, yeah, this is going to be an interesting one to really dive into. Number 2. Big announcement coming from Triple H on Thursday, January 4th, 2024. What could it be? What could Triple H have in store for us on tomorrow, on Thursday, on Peacock? Number 3. Why 2024 may be the year of indie animators in the animated series, and why it could lead to other indie creators like those on DeviantArt following suit. I'm going to probably have to edit this in the description. And who is that? That's my mom, and I'll be right back, guys. Hello?
Are you up or are you sleeping?
Yeah, I'm up.
And I got here, it was foggy and raining on the way down here. It was raining a lot on the Altamont.
Mm-hmm.
I got here about 3 minutes before 8.
Yeah.
I usually clock in 5 minutes before.
Yeah.
But I just went in so I can get in there, so it's, I know, but it was okay. I just thought, gee, I didn't realize it was going to be foggy. I said, man, I should have left there at like at 6, I could leave like at 6:15, 6:20. As long as I leave at plenty of time, just there was a lot of cars. I don't know why. There shouldn't be, I don't know if they're going back home, but we only have, I don't know if the parents know we're open, because they have a notice. They got a letter before they left. We only have 6 kids on our side. The other side has 8.
Yeah.
And we have a total of 13 kids, so 7 are not here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're. And then Livermore School District, guess what? They don't go back until Monday.
Yeah.
So how come we don't go back the same time they do?
I don't know.
That's what I'm going to bring up to the parents. I said, if you can, and you ask them to match the holidays with the school district, like, can you kind of match, I don't know, maybe it's up to them. I can't tell what to say. I would say recommend it, but
Yeah.
they match the same days off,
Mm-hmm.
They may say something, I don't know. It's just kind of, because the parents have they have a parent meeting, they have a lot to say,
Yeah.
They bring up their concerns. fields out there.
Yeah.
And all the fields were it was cloudy. It was foggy. And some idiot tried to pass me, and another car was behind me, and there's a car behind that one, and that idiot, oh, I'm going to pass you guys up in the fog. And I know it had to be a young person. And another car was coming on the other side, so that was a kind of a stupid move on his part.
Yeah.
Really made it in. I go, well, you want to die, that's your choice. You know? You're an idiot. Now, I was going a little bit 5 miles slower because of the fog. You know? Yeah. And I think, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't as bad as it normally is. But anyway, I texted you on your messenger. Did you get it?
No, I was probably in the shower.
Oh, okay. So, anything new?
No.
No? Okay. I don't know. I guess it's a good thing if Jacob goes at 5 o'clock at night after he gets his training done. I don't know if it'll be foggy or raining, but he's going to be driving at dark. He's going to be driving in the dark.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to wind up taking the shuttle. Trying to drink my coffee because I telling his mom, man, that's a far way to go.
Yeah.
You know, it's very far. And I told him, I said, yeah, that's far. I said, it's not mine is not that far.
Yeah.
Mine is far. Mine's still far, but not that far.
Yeah.
There's people that come far, like from, you could come like, there's one girl, she just moved to Vallejo. I don't know how that's like the same mileage that I put in.
Yeah.
And then there's one, there's some that come
Sorry,
from
she likes to talk a lot.
Come from, well, Stockton is, I think, is closer. But Vallejo, I think, remember I was asking you how much for, it's about the same amount of mileage, I think.
Yeah.
No? But anyway, yeah, so, okay, we only have 6, and then it's going to be like that, it's like that the rest of the week.
Yeah.
The lunches will be easy.
Yeah.
We're going to put a bunch of plates, 13, because we usually sit 3 tables, they might only have to sit maybe 1 table, you know? So, anyway, okay, Brian, I just thought I'd call you. Did you check the mail didn't come yet?
Not yet.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, I'll talk to you later. I'll talk to you on my, we have a lunch. I'll probably eat inside because the kids go at 12 o'clock today.
Okay.
So I'm in my car right now, and then I'll probably just call you when I'm ready to leave. Or just text me if anything comes up, anything new.
All right.
Okay. Or anything with Shannon and what's going on with that case.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, God bless you. Have a good day.
All right.
Okay. Don't forget to check the mail.
I won't.
Okay, bye. Bye. Sorry about that. I'm probably going to have to chapter a lot of these things, so that way you'll be like, oh, okay, that was a interruption. Yeah, it's probably going to say phone interruption. So, and anyway, what was I? Oh, yeah. Okay, like I was saying, number three topic, why 2024 may be the year of indie animators and their animated series, and why it could lead to other indie creators like those on DeviantArt following suit. And like I was saying before the phone rang, I'm going to probably have to change up some of the wording in the description here. Number 4, Nick Hausman walks back the Chris Jericho allegations. Well, I wouldn't say totally walked back, but basically walked back some misinformation that he got and everything. That people, started to capitalize on, or at least ran with, if you know what I mean. Number 5, and this was one of the big ones people were talking about this week, The Rock calls out Roman Reigns on day 1 edition of Raw. We'll talk about that. Number 6, 3, count them 3, Games of Thrones animated series coming soon to Max, but why? Talk about that. Number 7, why is the first thing creators go to when a major IP goes into public domain is horror/rated R material? We'll discuss that. And finally, number 8, 2024 celebrates 40 years of Transformers, and we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, be that as it may, guys, I will be right back. I'm going to get myself more coffee. And again, I do apologize for any interruptions that may happen with the phone and all that, but I'll be right back.
Gonna get some coffee to get myself going. Okay, guys, I am back. Sorry about that. Like I said, I had to get some coffee. And of course, I had the phone interruptions and everything. So, these kind of things happen. So you gotta do what you gotta do. Gotta do what you gotta do. Anyway, with that said, and I'm just looking at my videos right now. One thing I will say about YouTube, for some odd reason when you're resting, it's like all of a sudden the numbers that you think are low accumulate and get high. I mean, they get big, if you will. They just get big. There's no doubt. But anyway, let's get into our topics, shall we? let's get into our topics. And the first one we're going to talk about, is, of course, this one. Mickey Mouse horror-themed, right here. This is the first one we're going to talk about. Mickey Mouse horror-themed movies, games, etc. coming out because of Steamboat Willie going into public domain, and why the horror fun may not last for long. Now, I've talked about this before on numerous occasions and all that. And I even said in one of my initial videos that the people behind the Mickey's Mousetrap indie horror film and the Infestation Origins, they had to rename it from Infestation 88 to Origins because of some political reason or something like that. Basically had to deal with neo-Nazis, if you will. Hopefully nothing happens there with my live stream. But yeah, basically one of those neo groups, if you will. One of those neo groups and everything. And they changed it in response to Infestation Origins because of the 88 representing something else or something of that manner. But anyway, I said basically that hopefully these people enjoy the 5 minutes of fame, because that's basically when you're dealing with Disney and any of their IPs to an extent, even if that IP goes into public domain, you might as well be ready to enjoy just 5 minutes of fame. Because after that 5 minutes is up, Disney is the kind of corporation that will say either yank them and seal them up and forget about them, or we'll see you in court. And that's probably what would happen. And this doesn't just go for these two movies, but this goes for a lot of the projects that apparently are in the works. Even the Steamboat Willie horror-themed film, which is basically going to have Mickey Mouse in there, but the Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse under the Steamboat Willie name, that itself could face a little backlash. Like, one thing I have to give credit to Clownfish TV for, and I have to give a shout out to them. One thing I got to give them credit for is at least they point out that Disney, because they worked with Disney, they worked around and in the company and all that, as animators and freelancers and stuff like that. If there's one thing you don't want to deal with when it comes to Disney is the lawyers, and that Disney will put some pushback into the properties. They will put some pushbacks into the properties. There is no doubt about that. So to me, when I look at these horror films and other horror related projects coming out based on Steamboat Willie, in any other genre that they might want to use Steamboat Willie in, like comedy, parody, drama, you name it. They might as well try to get all those ideas, all those pilots, all those trailers, out of their system, all that creativity that they want out of the system. Because like I said in the name of the topic, the fun may not last long. Because again, shout out to Clownfish TV. One of the things they pointed out was between the two projects, movie projects anyway, that they know of, Steamboat Willie and Mickey's Mouse Hunt, Steamboat Willie would probably get a pass because they're not referring to the character as Mickey Mouse, being Steamboat Willie. It's just Steamboat Willie, But Mickey's Mousetrap might be another exception because you got Mickey's name in there and you got the word mouse below it. And all people would have to do is take out the apostrophe and the S, and just say Mickey Mouse Trap, if you know what I mean. So basically, they have a good point that if you're the people behind that movie, you might want to retitle, your movie, or you might want to hold back on releasing it and reshoot it, or use whatever technology, CGI graphics technology you can get a hold of, and put something above that mouse head to make it represent Steamboat Willie. So that way you can say, oh, it's not Mickey Mouse, it's Steamboat Willie. Because one thing that even Geeks and Gamers, and shout out to them as well, one of the things that Geeks and Gamers pointed out when they looked at the trailer is what's in the trailer. the trailer has a poster. They didn't show this, but they have a poster that says Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse in Steamboat Willie. And then next to the projector, they have Mickey Mouse in Steamboat Willie. I mean, if you have those two pamphlets, a poster and that pamphlet, I should say, kind of basically, calling out that this is indeed Mickey Mouse, and that this is indeed Mickey Mouse, but you're trying to justify that it's based on Steamboat Willie, that's going to come back to bite you. That's going to come back to bite you because, yeah, legally you could say, well, it's technically not Mickey. He's not in the Mickey outfit. He's based on Steamboat Willie. And, if you look at the trailer, we're even pushing that it's Steamboat Willie. And even before, and even in our description, for the film, we're saying it's not endorsed by Disney. This is us. This is our idea. Because it's public domain. That may not fly. That may not fly. So if I'm the people behind this film, Simon Phillips, Brit Flicks, whatever, if I'm the people behind this film, what I do is I either reshoot as quickly as possible, or I either use whatever CGI graphics technology I can get my hands on and put that hat on top of that mouse's head so you could say that's Steamboat Willie, and then change the name to say Steamboat's Mousetrap or Willie's Mousetrap. And there you go. Because going this route is not going to be, it's not going to be good for them in the long run. It's not. It's not going to be good for them in the long run. And, people would look at, Infestation Origins, formerly 88. They would look at Infestation's Origins, and they would say, well, that game may or may not make release because it's scheduled to be released this year via Steam and probably other platforms later on. But they're saying that might have some trouble too, because even though it's supposed to be about public domain characters, or characters in the public domain that have been infested by this disease or whatever, mutated by this infestation, it may still have trouble because you got to be careful of how you design said characters, and how you present them and all that. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting what they do. Now, one thing people do give credit, and I even mentioned this, is when you look at the Mickey Mouse, or the Mickey Mouse representation, the Steamboat Willie representation in Infestation Origins, and then you take a look at the Steamboat Willie representation of him in the Steamboat Willie horror film, if you will. You take a look at that, and you can tell that they're trying to make it different. You can tell they're trying to make it a little different by, stating that when you look at not stating, but by showing the image of tattered, rotting, outfit for like the Steamboat Willie movie, as well as you take a look at the Mickey Mouse in Infestation, and it's a rotting corpse-like rat, mutated rat. It's like, okay, that could get them a pass. That can get them a pass because it's not totally Mickey Mouse. I mean, it looks like Mickey, but it's, you see that it's based on Steamboat Willie, and there's enough change in there to where they could be like, okay, that's a pass. That's a pass. But again, even with this pass, they have to be careful. They have to be careful about what they do, because this could come back. Like I said, this could come back to bite them, or this could be a situation to where Disney's like, okay, we'll let you have your 5 minutes of fame, but then we're going to ask you to pull it out and shelve it, lock it away, and never let it see the light of day again. Because basically, one of the tricky parts that Disney has done that kind of limits a lot of people to the usage of Steamboat Willie to an extent is the trademark. It is the trademark of that character. It is the trademark of that design. And trademarks, from what I've learned and heard, do not expire. So by having a trademark on this character, by having a trademark on this version of Mickey Mouse and everything, basically they got to be very, very careful of how they present said characters. They got to be very careful. which is why, again, as I was mentioning, which is why when you look at Infestation Origins, formerly 88, when you look at it, you see that the clothes, like the shorts here, are all tattered. Are all tattered and everything. The ears are all rotting and all that. The face is rotting and all that. You see that, and you see that and everything, and it's like, okay, we get it. We get it. That's enough of a change to say, yeah, that ain't Steamboat. To say basically, yeah, that's Steamboat Willie, but it's not Mickey Mouse Steamboat Willie. For example, let me bring it up real quickly. I'm gonna bring up an image here. Hold on for a sec. But let me bring it up real quickly so you guys have a better understanding. I'm sure a lot of you already know what I'm talking about. You guys already know what I'm talking about here. Let's see. Yeah, here's the image from the thumbnail for the official trailer. As you can see right there, look at this. If I can, oops, don't want to do that. Look at this. If you can, look at how basically it's designed. You can tell, yeah, that's Mickey. That's Steamboat Willie Mickey, but it's done in a way to where it's not Mickey. It's distinguished enough to be like, yeah, we can't get in trouble for that. We can't get in trouble for that. And again, going to another image. I think it's up here somewhere. Hold on. There it is. Gonna replace the other one there. There we go. You see this one? You see, like, you can tell, oh, that's Steamboat Willie Mickey. And let me enlarge that a little bit so you can see. You can say, okay, that's Steamboat Willie Mickey and everything. You can definitely see that, but you can see that the face is all rotted and stuff like that. And, it's like you can see that, Infestation Origins, or 88, as it was originally called, as you can see there, will get a pass because, could probably get a pass because it's not flat out showing the character, as we knew him originally, or as Disney originally presented him, but basically as something different. That's how Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and Blood and Honey 2 are going to get away with what they're doing. It's not showing you the Winnie the Pooh characters as Disney presented them, or as they were seen in the original works, because even though these movies are based on those works, but they've differentiated them enough to where, yeah, it's Winnie the Pooh, but it's a different Winnie the Pooh. That's how you're able to get a lot of these different takes on Winnie, and everything, down the line. But when it comes to Mousetrap and everything, when it comes to Mousetrap, if I can bring that up here, and let me shrink it down a little bit. Bring it in. There we go. But when it comes to this, it's like, yeah, that's gonna get Simon Phillips and Brit Flicks or whatever studio's behind it in trouble. And whoever they have to distribute it, those people, whoever they get to distribute it, whether it's a short theatrical run or direct to streaming, whoever they get to distribute it for them, they may say, yeah, you might want to change. Like, yeah, we're not going to be able to do that for you because we don't want to deal with Disney's lawyers. we don't want to deal with Disney's lawyers, if you know what I mean. Because again, what they should do basically is take. It's like, okay, you have this here, and you can definitely tell they took inspiration from Scream on this. But what they need to do is take this image here, maybe add that red in there to make a little bit of difference. Maybe they'll do that in post-production. I'm not really sure. And then what they need to do is put like a little hat. Make a little hat, and maybe in post-production add the pie eyes, because that's the one thing that Clownfish TV pointed out is he doesn't have the pie eyes. It just looks like, Mickey Mouse, black and white. It's not, it's not Mickey Mouse, it's not Mickey Mouse Steamboat Willie style. Like this version right here. Let me bring this up so you guys can see it. Like this here, this version right here that's being promoted as another horror film. And, hold on. There we go. Kind of moving the camera a little bit. I don't like doing that. But this here, This here basically is being dubbed Steamboat Willie. The character is being dubbed Steamboat Willie. And you can tell that, yeah, it looks like Mickey Mouse and everything, but you only see it from the back. You don't see the face yet. The face could be rotted and all that, and you could tell that the clothes are tattered as well. The gloves are, like, yeah, you could say, well, Steamboat Willie didn't have gloves. That's true. And they could edit that out. They could change that, or they could point out that the gloves are torn up, they're tattered, you know, to an extent. You know, they could point that out. The point is though, when it comes to the Mousetrap one, and this is what Clownfish TV and I'm sure others have pointed out, that could basically give them a lot more trouble. You know, that those people could get a lot more trouble, heading their way if they're not careful. You know, because if they decide to go through with the release of that film without doing some pre-production editing, you know, through CGI or whatever, or some reshoots, if they don't decide to do that, you know, Disney could, you know, the legal team could say, okay, we'll see you in court, you know, or cease and desist. You release that, we'll see you in court. Hope you have good lawyers and hope you have a lot in your bank account to lose, because they could do that. You know, they could do that. And again, this goes back to another video I did. Could Disney sue for the horror versions of Steamboat Willie? And yeah, they could. Yeah, they could sue for them. I mean, the Steamboat Willie movie under the Steamboat Willie name with the character under the name of Steamboat Willie, that could be fine. And I'm sure anybody else that had, and I'm sure all the other indie creators that are on the verge of releasing films or getting ready to make films and all that, short films, feature films, whatever, I'm pretty sure they're thinking the same thing. They're looking at the Mickey's Mousetrap, they're looking at the Steamboat Willie deal, and they're like, okay, that second one, that latter one is going in the right direction. That's what we need to follow, not what these guys are doing, because we don't want to end up in the jam they may end up in. So hopefully Simon Phillips and Brit Flicks and anybody else involved kind of goes back and says, okay, let's change this up, let's fix it. You know, let's, you know, either change the name, or you find some technology that puts a hat on there, a Steamboat Willie-like hat on there, so we can say this is Steamboat Willie. You know, and go from there. Because if not, they're in a lot of trouble. Now they could save face by saying it's a parody. It's a horror slasher parody and everything. It's a satire, and you know that could save them, but not really. So they're gonna have probably the best thing they're gonna have to do is change up the name. You know, at the best, instead of saying Mickey's Mousetrap, just say Willie's Mousetrap or Steamboat's Mousetrap, and there you go. And maybe look at the trailer they put out there and say, okay, let's take out the Disney, because again, in the trailer they have the poster that says Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse Steamboat Willie, and then there's a pamphlet at the, you know, on the projector, like I said, that says the same thing, Mickey Mouse Steamboat Willie. What they need to do is go back and edit it, take out the Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse, and just say Steamboat Willie. So that way they could try to at least save face, in my opinion. They can at least save face. But, you know, but it's up to them. It's up to them to what they want to do and everything. If they have the money, God bless them, to fight Disney in court and to try to have a good argument. If they have the money to hire decent lawyers to, you know, fight on their behalf, good, all praise, you know, basically, good on their part, you know. Hopefully, maybe they might win. Who knows? Because they could argue this is not the Mickey Mouse Disney is promoting right now in the parks and in cartoons. This is Steamboat Willie. This is Steamboat Willie, and we show it. And we're even saying that it's not. But we'll see. I mean, there's a whole list. And Geeks and Gamers brought this up. There's a whole peripheral. That was what I was looking for yesterday in my video where I talked about when I try to talk about and answer the question of could Disney, sue for these horror things going on. That's what I was looking for. But yeah, Disney has a whole peripheral of lawyers, if you will, on the ready. Not Disney, but let me go. Okay, what I was saying is that Geeks and Gamers. That's what I was getting at before I went off track there. Geeks and Gamers, during the stream that they did, showed that there's a whole peripheral of, projects, horror themed projects, movies, whatever, based on the Steamboat Willie, IP that's now, that's now public domain. That's PD, if you will. And, and you could just, like I said earlier, you could tell that maybe these people that are going to get ready to put these out there are looking at the situations right now and be like, okay, we got to be careful. Like I said, they're probably looking between the two movies that are already being, announced, with a trailer being announced for being put into production. And they're probably like, yeah, the latter one has the better idea. This one that just put a trailer out, they could kiss their ass goodbye. Or they can kiss their ass goodbye, basically, because that's basically what could happen. That's basically what could happen. They could kiss their butts totally goodbye because Disney will say, yeah, this is way too on the nose. And even though, like I said, they could hire lawyers, and God bless them if they do, to try to argue on their behalf of, this is the public domain Steamboat Willie, this is Mickey Mouse Mickey Mouse of playing crazy and everything. This is not, trespassing on your property. This is not trespassing on your property. But then Disney could say, but you're wrong because you see, you could put the mouse. You could put the mouse, if you will. You could put the mouse, in a sweatsuit and everything because that's obviously what they put him in. They put him in a tracksuit, it looks like. You could do all that, but he still looks like this. There's no difference. And like I said, what they'd have to do, as you saw in that poster for it, is put a little bit of blood down here, so that'd be like, okay, there's your difference. Maybe that might help them. We're not really sure. But again, I can tell you honestly that, if I'm these people behind Mickey's Mousetrap, like I mentioned, I do a lot of work. I will basically push. Here's what I would do. There's no set release date for the spring this year, which is supposed to come out. So I would push it back a little bit. I would push it back, rework it, maybe do some reshoots if you got the money to do it. Put a hat on top of that Mickey head and say, that's Steamboat Willie, and we'll redub it or rename it Willie's Mousetrap. And there you go. You have a perfect way, a perfect exit, exit, if you will, out of any litigation, cease and desist that you may face. The same with Inverse. Inverse game. Inverse has, hold on. The same with Inverse. That's what I was trying to say. Inverse has their game coming out called Inverse Ninjas versus Public Domain. And they basically put out the trailer, which says Mickey Mouse has now joined the party. The problem with that could get them in trouble is they're putting Mickey's name, on there. Just flat out saying it's Mickey Mouse. And a lot of people in the comment section have said, yeah, hope you enjoy your day in court. Because you're pretty much saying that's Mickey. But others have argued and said, not really. Because they gave him a jacket. They gave him overalls instead. It's not Mickey Mouse. It's not Disney's Mickey Mouse. It's Steamboat Willie, which we could do whatever we want with. True. But you're still promoting it under Mickey Mouse. So they need to change that, and hopefully they will. Hopefully they'll say it's Mickey Mouse's cousin, Willie Mouse. Willie Mouse. Yeah, that's who it is. It's his cousin, Steamboat Willie. Yeah, that's who it is. Mickey Mouse's cousin, Steamboat Willie. There you go. You can probably find a way out of that as well. But the point is basically, they too could face litigation and cease and desist if they don't change something. So the best solution, in my opinion, for them to change to avoid any of this, in my opinion, is to say, this is Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse's cousin, Steamboat Willie. Or, come out with a trailer and say, because in the first trailer they say, hey, it's legal for us to use him. Maybe what they should do is change it up to say, hey, we apologize, we jumped the gun. And what we meant to say is the Steamboat Willie character of Mickey is now ours to use. So this is Steamboat Willie, not Mickey. They could do that. And I think that would help them out as well. But it's up to them. It's up to them. what they want to do. But yeah, when I look at Mickey's Mousetrap, I look at this inverse stuff, I do agree with the people like Geeks and Gamers and Clownfish TV that if I'm these two entities, I basically do what I can to get myself out of a potential lawsuit and cease and desist. Because if I want my projects to see the light of day, I make sure I fix things up. Now, what's interesting with the inverse is they're saying, hey, the beta is up and running now for $5. Like they're saying, hey, $5, go and grab it right now for $5. It's all yours. It's almost like those people know, hey, get your hands on public domain Mickey right now before Disney comes and kicks our butt. They probably know they're going to get in trouble, so that's why they're promoting it. Like, go and get it right now. So if I'm them, I basically say, I want people to enjoy this game. I want them to play Mickey because we think it's public domain Mickey. And, if I'm them, I just fix it. I just fix it and go from there. And just go from there. But yeah, like I said, these people with any of their ideas, enjoy your fun while you can. Because some of you might get a pass because you're actually working around it and kind of identifying and saying, yeah, this is not Mickey Mouse. This is Steamboat Willie Mickey. So this is public domain. It's our Mickey, not yours. Some of them might get a pass because of that. But others, now that I think about it, and again, shout out to Clownfish TV and Geeks and Gamers and others that pointed this out. Others like, others like Simon Phillips and Brit Flicks, Mickey's Mousetrap in the inverse game, those, they may not be so lucky. So if I'm them and I don't want to have to go into court, I don't want to have to face litigation or anything like that, I basically take my time, push back my release dates for these projects and say, let's fix this stuff so that we don't get in trouble. And go from there. Just go from there. Because of the fact that if they don't, Mickey's Mousetrap might get us a short theatrical run, but that's all it's going to get, and that's probably the only way people are going to see it, because Disney will then say, okay, either put that in the vault, never let it see the light of day again, or we'll see you in court. And it's probably what will happen. But it's up to them. So we'll see. We'll see what they do going forward. But again, those that will make a pass, will make it, pass any litigation, basically avoid court, they're doing it the right way. They're doing it the right way to where they're not saying it's Mickey. They're saying it's Steamboat Willie. And that's it. That's it. So we'll see what happens. But with that said, give me your thoughts on that as we move on to the next topic here. And the next topic is wrestling related. Number 2, big announcement coming from Triple H tomorrow, January 4th, 2024. What could it be? Now, this has been promoted for at least a couple of weeks now, or at least, I wouldn't say a couple of weeks, but basically a week or two, maybe 2. Triple H basically has a big announcement tomorrow on the preview show that's going to air on Peacock for WWE. And a lot of people have been speculating what this could be. And a lot of people have noticed that there's something interesting going on over at TNA, Impact Wrestling. They've noticed that with TNA Plus being launched on Friday, which is their streaming service, and it's being carried by Endeavor Streaming, the same Endeavor that bought ownership of WWE, but the streaming service is a different division. People have been wondering, is there something here that we are not aware of yet? And on top of that, one of the commercials that came out for TNA Plus, that's what it's called, TNA Plus, one of the commercials went out and stated that the pay-per-views will now be premium live events. Who else goes the PLE route with the, by calling the events that? Who goes that route? WWE. So people are wondering, wait a minute, is there a connection? And then you have, news now that Naomi, Trinity Fatu, who is the current TNA/Impact Knockouts champion, could be heading back to WWE. And that could be it. And that could be something as well that ties into this, because she's on the poster, the poster promoting the return of TNA. And then on top of that, you have Scott D'Amore saying they got a big signing, probably the biggest signing in company history, debuting at Hard to Kill, or during Hard to Kill weekend. And then you also have the tagline that worlds will collide at that event as well. So people are wondering, what does this all mean? Could this mean what we think it could mean? And maybe it does. Maybe it means WWE and TNA are going to enter into a working relationship. They'll be separate entities. They'll still do their own thing, but they'll enter into a working relationship that maybe we see an exchangement of talent. Like, come on, who doesn't want to see Josh Alexander, the walking weapon, show up on SmackDown and probably go toe to toe with LA Knight or Randy Orton? Who would not want to see that? Or maybe it's something with TNA and NXT to where the walking weapon shows up on NXT and faces Braun Breaker. Who's to say? We don't know. But all eyes and ears are going to be on this announcement, because it could be anything. People are speculating it could be an announcement of where the WrestleMania in 2025 could land. Some are speculating that it could be something else entirely. Some are saying that, hey, maybe the announcement's a slew of announcements. They're just basically packing it all into a major announcement, but it could be more than that, more than just one major announcement. It could be a ton of announcements for all we know. And that's true. It could be. It could be a ton of announcements all, combined together into one. Who's to say? But basically, a lot of the focus, a lot of the speculation is leaning towards a partnership between TNA and WWE. Now, the last time they had some kind of partnership or arrangement was, there was, two separate times. The first time was getting Ric Flair to be part of the Full Horsemen's Hall of Fame induction. So in exchange for having Ric Flair be there to take part in that, they had Christian go back to TNA to announce the Hall of Fame induction there of Sting. That's what they did. So you had the Flair come back for his second Hall of Fame induction with the Horsemen. This time with the Horsemen, I should say. In exchange, you had Christian go to TNA and announce the introduction into TNA Hall of Fame of Sting. So, that was the first. So that was the first time. The second time, believe it or not, was when Mickie James, as an apology for basically the whole trash bag incident when she exited the company, Mickie James, as Knockouts champion, was allowed to enter, the Women's Royal Rumble, along with wearing the Knockouts Championship. Although they didn't call it the Knockouts Championship, they called it the Impact Women's Championship. And along with that, she also came out to a hardcore country theme, the one she uses in TNA/Impact. And now that she's a free agent, she could be heading back to WWE because her husband's there now. And we could probably see her using hardcore country as her theme, because everybody's gotten so used to it now. So those are the two only other times to where they've worked together. Could we see now a full-fledged partnership between the sides coming up? Could that be what the announcement is? Because if it is, it's huge for both companies. Huger for TNA because it gives them a lot more exposure, and it does benefit WWE, puts them in good graces with the general wrestling community. And the general wrestling, I guess you could say, conglomerate, if you will, as a whole, by showing, hey, things have indeed changed because now we're doing something that we never truly could do with Vince McMahon. Now, I know some people might say, well, Vince McMahon partnered with people in the past. Yeah, but those partnerships didn't last long. They didn't. He tried something with Georgia Championship Wrestling back in the early to mid 80s on that Black Saturday, as it's called. That didn't last too long because That fan base didn't like what they saw. They wanted back their stuff, and they got it. You know, they tried the little mini, I guess you could say, partnerships with USWA and Smoky Mountain. And the only reason they did those is because those were territorial mid-major promotions that people knew about, but nobody really had access to on a major basis. Like, you didn't see USWA on ESPN anymore. You didn't see Smoky Mountain on ESPN. Those, because they were not as prominent as they used to be to get their attention. You know, to get the attention of the likes of an ESPN and all that. So, he's had partnerships with them, but only because they weren't, seen on major networks. They weren't seen on major networks and everything outside of what WWE was on. Some of you might even say, well, didn't he work with the NWA back during the Attitude Era? Yeah, but the only reason he did that is because Jim Cornette insisted on it. Well, I wouldn't say insisted on it, but basically Jim Cornette acknowledged it or talked about it in a meeting, and Vince saw that basically as their answer to the NWO, which did not work. Because they were doing, basically what they were doing with the NWA was their own invasion story arc, to where you had the NWA and its representatives invading WWE, and you had people defecting over to NWA and stuff, and again, it just did not work. It did not work and everything, at all. So, so he tried, I'll give him that. But it's only because a lot of these most of these promotions later on were not on major networks and everything. They were not on major networks, so he's like, okay, I'll give you some shine here and there. I'll give you some shine, but that's it. I'm not going to give you, a whole broadcast of Raw or Superstars or whatever to put yourselves over. I'll give you a shine here. I'll give you a shine there. And that's it. You'll probably only get like 1 or 2 matches, a week based on these events, based on these promotions. But that's it. Nothing else. That's it. So it wasn't like a true partnership to where you saw talents going over to, you did see talents go over to Smoky Mountain and USWA and NWA, and all that, but they were only like for one-off appearances, and that was it. What they're talking about here is a possibility that you can have an interchanging of talents back and forth. You could have talents, 1 week or within the same week show up on NXT and be on TNA. That's what they're talking about. Like you could have Trinity Naomi, because she's known as Naomi in WWE, be on Impact 1 week or the day before SmackDown, and then the next day she shows up on SmackDown. You see what I'm saying? And there could be a fact that they could integrate storylines, for both promotions, depending on how it's done, into both companies. Like you could have a storyline in NXT, be incorporated over to TNA, and TNA can acknowledge and even show footage of what happened on NXT on their programming without any issue, and vice versa. So that's what people are speculating and wondering about. Could that be what we'll get leading into? Could that be the announcement, that we're leading into? We'll have to see. The other announcement could be that, WWE Raw has found a home. WWE Raw has found a new landing home, for their show. And whether or not they remain on USA, whether or not they go to FX, or maybe they end up on Warner Bros. Discovery, either way it's big news. USA maybe not as big. FX, would be big, but not as expected. Warner Bros. Discovery, if that happens, that's huge. That's huge. And that would be the only reason Triple H would say this is a big announcement. One, because he'd be playing into what Tony Khan always says of, oh, I got a big announcement tonight here on Dynamite. I got a big announcement tonight on Collision. Imagine Tony Khan tuning in to that announcement, being told, tune into that thing. I have a feeling we're going to hear something you're going to hear something you're not going to want to hear. Imagine Tony Khan tuning in to that preview to hear what Hunter's announcement is, and Hunter says, and Hunter comes out and says, my announcement is WWE Raw has a new home on TNT. And just imagine Tony Khan's reaction on Twitter if that happens. He will be pissed. You know, and if that happens, I would not be surprised if Hunter takes a shot at Tony and says, "Hey, TK, I know you may not be happy, but let this be a lesson. Don't poke the bear, because the bear will always come out on top." You know, or basically don't wake sleeping giants, because all you're going to do is cause your own downfall. Or he'll make some kind of announcement like, "Don't poke the beast, because basically," or something like that. It's like, "Don't provoke the beast, because it'll be like the beast will wake, because all you're going to do is wake it up and it's going to destroy you," or something, or whatever. Or maybe he uses his own thing like, "Hey, game," or maybe he looks into the camera and says, "Hey, TK, on behalf of the King of Kings, game over." You know, or maybe, "Don't write checks your mouth can't cash." You know, he could do that. He could say those things if that's the announcement. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what Paul Levesque, Triple H's announcement is going to be tomorrow night on Peacock. It could be a lot. It could be one thing. It could be something. It could be, a partnership with TNA. It could be, where they exchange talents, or it could be something else. It could be the Raw. It could be the WrestleMania 41 location, or it could be, the announcement of Raw going to a new network, or even staying on USA. We'll have to see. If they're staying on USA, this shouldn't be, advertised as a big announcement. But if they're going elsewhere, FX or maybe WBD, that's an announcement. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But let me know what your thoughts are on that topic. What do you think it's going to be that Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the King of Kings, the King of Kings, if you will, the game, Paul Levesque, Triple H, what do you think his announcement is going to be? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as in the live chat during this live stream that we are currently doing. All right, next up, number 3, why 2024 may be the year of indie animators and their animated series, and why it could lead to other indie creators like those on DeviantArt following suit. All right, so the reason I bring this up is because I watched a video by Saberspark where he previewed animation for this year, and at the end he talked about some of the more indie projects that he's going to go more into with a separate video later this month, from what he said. He talked about some of the indie creators and their animated projects, and he didn't talk about them in complete detail, which I think he's saving for the indie animator or indie animation video he's doing. But he did go through them, and I will say that what I'm seeing definitely shows that this year, if they don't get pushed back, this year with fan support and everything, could be a big year for indie animators. Because a lot of these series that they're working on, they want to bring out, even with pilots, to see if people will want more. It's huge. A lot of these shows look really good. I mean, this is going to be basically a huge year period, because Has Been Hotel, years, about 4 or 5 years after the pilot showed up here on YouTube, Has Been Hotel, thanks to A24 and Amazon Prime, this month debuts on Amazon, debuts, I should say, on Amazon Prime. I don't know if they're going to drop all the episodes or if it's going to be a weekly thing, but Vizzy Pop, her dream is coming true. Her dream is coming true, that one of her projects that started out as just an indie project is now getting mainstream attention on Amazon Prime, and courtesy of A2 Films, or A2 Productions, or A24 Productions. So, and the trailer looks really good. The trailer does keep the essence of what the pilot was, but you can tell the animation's a lot cleaner, a lot more fluid, because they got a bigger budget for it. So yeah, this is going to be a huge year for indie animators and their shows. But to me, this also opens the door. This opens the door to a lot of other indie creators on places like DeviantArt. Because I look at a lot of their projects, and I've mentioned this before, that could definitely lend themselves to animation. I look at Mr. Internet Man and his Mystic Makeover series with his character Veronica DeMonica and her supporting cast, And I'm thinking, man, that could, because I'm looking at what's going on this year. I'm looking at going on with Has Been Hotel on Amazon Prime. I'm looking at the success Hell of a Boss is getting, on YouTube for free, which hopefully allows it to get picked up by a bigger streaming platform down the line. Not saying YouTube isn't big, but you get the idea. To me, I look at this and I'm like, man, if someone like Mr. Internet Man could put his Mystic Makeover, characters like Veronica, into animation for an animated series, I think that would get over big. I think that would get over huge with a lot of people, because who would not want to see an animated series of a girl who basically over time, is able to use a lipstick that she applies to become an alter ego become the alter ego of a mischievous, succubus, demon elf, if you will, called Demonica, that over time evolves to the point, or grows to the point, that she doesn't have to use it anymore because it's basically become part of her DNA. All she has to do is think about, okay, what is she going to do next, or what she wants to become next. Who would not want to see a series like that? Because to me, in animation, holy smokes, people would enjoy it. People would have fun with it. Here's the thing. People liked, what was it, Nimona? I think that's what it was. No, Nimona on Netflix. People loved that one. And that involved a shape-shifting character who had fun with her shape-shifting. Now, Nimona was one people liked. So if someone like Mr. Internet Man was to do that with his Mystic Makeover character of Demonica Veronica, holy smokes. In the supporting cast, sky's the limit. People, I think, would get a kick out of it. They would get a kick out of it, in my opinion. The same with DEVIANTART. DEVIANTART has her stories of Metamorphosized to Malleability, Melting Me, which comes out annually in May of every year. The Unlimited series, and a new one she's working on right now. And called Prolo Bell or something. I gotta look at it again. But mostly the ones I just mentioned before that. Melting Me and Unlimited, and mostly the most notable one she does, Metamorphosized to Malleability. To me, animation wise, holy smokes. Imagine doing a lot of the stories, the arc, if you will, for a lot of these stories in animation. How fun that could be for someone like her to at least give out like a test pilot of, hey, this is what the animated series could look like with your support or with somebody behind it. When I look at what this year is going to be bringing, hopefully without any interruptions for indie animators, especially with Has Been Hotel on Amazon Prime leading the way. When I see this, when I see this year having been basically set up as the biggest year for animation, indie animation, then to me, sky's the limit. The sky is the limit for what could be possible. Again, a lot of these projects that I meant, a lot of these things that people at DEVIANTART are working on, to me, could work tremendously. Tremendously. Hold on a second. Let me get some coffee here, because I'm trying to think about what I was going to say next. There we go. This one person I support and follow on DEVIANTART and on Ink Bunny, Mel Sky. She has character. Her and her husband have characters. Her husband and their friends have characters all within one world. And I look at these characters, and I say to myself, now that I look at what this year is going to be for indie animators, I'm like, wouldn't this be something? Basically, if she could put a story arc with all those characters that her husband and her friends come up with to be in that world, wouldn't it be something if that became an animated series? I think people would appreciate it. She could say it's inspired by the Sonic the Hedgehog universe, but it's its own entity. People would enjoy it, I think. People would get a kick out of it. They really would. So to me, I look at this year as being huge, overall for indie animators, and I think because it's going to be that, without any interruptions or, delays, well, delays and interruptions are pretty much the same, but you get the idea. To me, with this being that kind of a year, this opens the door. This opens the door for people like Mr. Internet Man, for people like Desi Arts, for people like Mel Sky, people like AZ, Ant Zorsen, and Homorphica character, and so on. It opens the door. It opens the door for those kind of things to become a reality from an animation perspective. Because again, who would not want to see those kind of characters come to life in an animation perspective? I know a lot of people would. But we'll have to see what they got planned. We'll have to see what they have in store in the future, if maybe they want to follow suit on this. But to me, if this year turns out to be as big of a year for indie animation worldwide, being led by Has Been Hotel, now being put on Amazon Prime, courtesy of Amazon and A24 Productions, with them leading the way, and then all these other projects that, are looking for support, and I highly recommend you support them. Like I said, sky's the limit. It is the limit for this realm of animation to really be taken to another level. And again, these projects that I mentioned that people work on at DeviantArt, I think honestly they would benefit from animation. I really do. And you can do a lot more. And this is why, when I talk about in a little bit, why one series on Max that's made a name for themselves on HBO and Max and all that is going the animator route. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But to me, I think it's just freaking phenomenal that indie animators and content creators are getting this door open for them, or kicking the door down, basically. And to me, the kicking it down to let other content creators, like the ones I mentioned, possibly have a chance at this. But yeah, 2024 is going to be huge, and I think it's basically going to open the door, as I mentioned. It's going to open the door, like I mentioned, for other content creators, indie creators, like those on DeviantArt, to follow suit. I really do. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know in the live chat, as well as in the comments below, what are your thoughts. All right, next up, number 4. Nick Hausman walks back on the Chris Jericho allegations. Now, he doesn't totally walk back on them and everything, but basically, he made it sound like he was implying that Kylie Ray was involved to some point, which basically a lot of people took and ran with, I should say. They took and ran with. And look, Kylie Ray, based on what we've seen, might still have been involved in everything, that, because of course you have this other social media thing that has a blurred out name and all that, saying exactly what happened. But Hausman had to, from what I understand, had to backtrack on what he said and basically correct himself and say, look, I didn't imply it was Kylie Ray, so I do apologize. But, that doesn't make him look good. And by extension, it doesn't make, any people that work with him look good. It doesn't make any of his reporting that he's done in the past legitimate, on the point or close to it, look good either. But hey, everybody makes mistakes. And in this day and age, when you own up to it, that gains you a lot of respect. That does gain you a lot of respect. And he did own up to it. He did own up to it and everything, because he basically said something that he shouldn't have said, and people ran with it. And pretty much, I wouldn't say made a bigger deal out of nothing. I wouldn't say that. But basically, made accusations that may or may not be true. We're not really sure. But there's still that, like I said, that's still that anonymous, the anonymous thing that surfaced online that states otherwise. That could say otherwise. But yeah, Nick Hausman, he backtracked on it. And like I said, in this day and age, when you own up to something, it's going to get respect on you. People are going to probably start having respect on you and probably start giving you a chance more so than they normally do, because at least you're admitting, I should say, that it's your fault, you made a mistake. So in this day and age, that's very high for for people to look at, in my opinion. That's very high for people to look at. And, basically by doing so, have them give you that respect that you believe you deserve, because you're at least taking responsibility for what you did. You're taking responsibility for what you did. So yeah, he walked back on it, but it's still out there. It's still out there. Whether or not we see Chris Jericho on Dynamite tonight, or he takes off for a little bit to let things die down, we'll have to see. Whether or not, maybe Tony Khan addresses it tonight, we'll have to see. Because, he's got to say something. He's got to say something, because if he doesn't, he makes himself look bad as well. He makes himself look bad. But, got to give credit where it's due. Nick Hausman, he walked it back. He said, look, man, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said what I did. I didn't mean to imply it was Kylie Rae. I'm sorry I made it sound like that. And, and thus he owned up to it. So, give him credit where it's due. Give him credit where it's due. And hopefully, he won't make another mistake like that ever again. Hopefully he won't make another mistake like that, because, honestly, if I'm Nick Hausman, and I'm supposed to be a very credible source of information when it comes to wrestling or combat sports, I make sure to, I'll make that the next time I hear something that's connected to maybe this or something else, I pretty much make sure that everything I hear is exact and that there's nothing left out. There's nothing left out. So yeah, I'll give him credit. Give him credit. He owned up to it. And that's all I can really say on it. But let me know what your thoughts are on in the live chat as well as in the comments. What are your thoughts on Nick Hausman owning up to it? Owning up to the mistake he made, to where it made it sound like it was Kylie Rae he was talking about, but not really. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Love to hear from each and every one of you on that. As well as in the live chat, let me know what your thoughts are down below. As we move on to our next topic, number 5, which is also wrestling related, and this got a lot of people talking. The Rock calls out Roman Reigns on the Day 1 edition of Raw. Now, this past Monday, the first Raw of the new year was under the subtitle of Day 1. Day 1 used to be a one-time pay-per-view name for WWE to celebrate the new year, but it didn't jive as well, I guess, with a lot of people. And so they decided that, under this new regime, they're just going to do what NXT does and basically subtitle certain Raws and SmackDowns under previous pay-per-view names that they don't make pay-per-views out of anymore. But yeah, The Rock showed up. There was rumors of a former WWE champion showing up, returning on Raw. And it looked like it was going to be Jinder Mahal, which would have been a big troll job, and it was. But as soon as Jinder was talking, that's when The Rock's music hit. And there was a lot of speculation that it could be him, because there was a picture that was taken at the Rose Bowl, because him and this Garcia lady were on College Game Day promoting the merger of the XFL and the USFL as the UFL, the United Football League. And basically there was a picture that surfaced to where he was at the Rose Bowl, and in that same image was Nick Khan, the president of WWE, which pretty much solidified in a lot of people's minds that the former champion they're talking about was The Rock. And lo and behold, it was. And after having a surprisingly to a lot of people, a decent back and forth with Jinder Mahal, because Jinder Mahal, going to a lot of people, no matter how you feel about him, held his own verbally with The Rock. And then after having that and having a little bit of a scuffle and everything, and showing that, hey, he could still take bumps and everything, The Rock got on the mic, said told San Diego he was hungry, he was going to go out, saying he would either sit at a bar, sit at a bar, sit at a bar, something else he said. But then he got to, or should The Rock, he said, because he basically asked him, should The Rock sit at a bar? Should The Rock sit, he said something else, I can't think about it. But after he said the third one, he said, or should The Rock sit at the head of the table? And that got a lot of people talking. You saw a lot of, and you go here on YouTube, but there was a lot of reactions to that. Everybody was like, oh my God, it's going to happen. And Now the question obviously is when. Is the match going to happen in Philadelphia at WrestleMania 40 on night 2? Well, Roman works night 1 against Cody. Or is the event going to take place the month prior at Elimination Chamber? You see, there's some good wonderment and questioning as to when it takes place, because according to a lot of people, Rock's going to be busy this year, especially in the spring with the United Football League, the UFL. So the question obviously, the question is, is the match going to take place at WrestleMania on night 2 while Cody and Roman takes place on night 1, or vice versa? Or will it take place at Elimination Chamber in Australia? We'll have to see. Some people are saying that it's probably going to be Elimination Chamber because that opens the door for him to still focus on what he's got to do in the spring with the United Football League. And some are saying that it could happen at WrestleMania night 2. Because what better way storyline-wise to show that Roman's losing everything than on night 1 he loses the title to Cody, and then night 2 he loses the status as tribal chief and head of the table. And he's just back to being plain old Roman. Storyline-wise that works. I mean, because here's the thing, if you want Cody to face him, Cody could earn his opportunity by either winning the Rumble a second year in a row or finding a way to win the Elimination Chamber if he's involved. And Cody could say, look, Rock, I know you have Roman at WrestleMania for the WrestleMania, but I also want Roman at WrestleMania. So maybe you can have him say, look, you've been the champ, you've won the championship a lot of times, you don't really need it, but what you really want to do is, take the title of head of the table, tribal chief, because that's your main thing. So why not let me have Roman on night 1, and you can have him on night 2, or vice versa. However they want to play it. Storyline-wise, again, it works. Because you can have that be a weekend of loss for Roman, to where if Roman takes a break afterwards and then comes back, not only does he come back maybe as a babyface, but he comes back in a way to redeem himself and maybe apologize for his actions. Maybe say, look, I'm sorry I was a jerk. I'm sorry I acted the way I did. Maybe you just have him admit, look, he was pissed at having to be somebody he wasn't at one point. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what they do. That's if they get this match, up and running by then. That's if they get this match, up and running, by then, because, Rock could come out like he's done numerous times and tease he wants, Roman Reigns. Teases he wants to be head of the table. But as people are allowed to say, there's a difference between saying and doing. And now that he said he wants Roman Reigns, all that remains is doing it. And people are pointing at Elimination Chamber as being the destination. It's in a big venue, a big stadium in Perth, Australia, I think. Perth, Australia. It's in front of a big venue. 60 plus, 70 plus could be fitted in there. And you could use that as a night to where Roman's empire starts to crumble. Like, you could have him, face Rock, probably put the title on the line, or Rock could say, look, I don't want the title. I just want to remove you from head of the table because you haven't proven that you're truly the head of the table because of reasons. Maybe you could have Rock say, look, you've been mistreating our family, for over 4 years like crap, all because, and maybe he brings this up. Maybe he brings up the fact that Roman has always needed people by his side because he's too scared to be on his own. We don't know. That could be something. That could be something that gets brought up, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they do. But to me, when I look at this, ladies and gentlemen, I look at the fact that, again, there's a difference of him saying and doing. And I think the time's come to where, okay, you said it, you got people talking now, it's time to do. It's time to go from the saying it to now doing it. So, it's like Alex6 on Alex's World here on YouTube says, just Alex. It's like he says, even though it feels like we're now going to be getting there, don't believe it. He won't believe it, and I don't think any of us should truly believe it or get our hopes up until we see some kind of confirmation or graphic. Then and only then should we get ready, to be excited. And if we see a graphic for Elimination Chamber saying it's Rock and Roman for the title of Tribal Chief head of the table, good to go. If it says night 2, on night 1, Rock and Roman for the status of Tribal Chief and everything, and then night 2 it's Cody and you get the idea. Like night 1 or 2 could be Cody Roman, night 1 or 2 could be Rock and Roman. You get the idea. Until we see something that confirms that. Right now it's all talk, no walk. We need the walk now. That's what people are saying. It's like, okay, they're saying, okay, Dwayne, you've done the walk, you've done the talk. Now it's time to do the walk. It's time to do the walk. And here's what's interesting, though. Here's what's interesting. Rock doesn't have no movie projects planned as far as we know. All we know is he's working in a business venture with this Garcia lady on the United Football League. And yeah, it's going to keep him busy, but does that also open his door just slightly to still come back and forth with the company, WWE? We'll have to see. We'll have to see what they do. But to me, again, you're saying and you're talking. It's like you're saying and talking, but now it's time to start doing and walking. In other words, you spoke the words, now it's time for action. That's pretty much what it is. You spoke the words, now it's time for action. And he's going to have to live up to that. He's going to have to live up to that and everything, if he wants this to finally happen. Because who knows when he or the company as a whole will have another opportunity. You know what I'm saying? It's like, when are they going to have another opportunity to make this happen? I'm just saying. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. We got the walk. I mean, even WWE's now acknowledging it. They're even acknowledging it through the video clips, full-length video clips and everything on the YouTube page that he called out Roman Reigns and everything. So if you're having the company acknowledge it now, now's the time for that company to say, okay, enough talking, enough stalling, let's do this thing. Let's do it, let's make it happen. And whether it's Elimination Chamber or one of the nights for WrestleMania 40, it's gotta happen. It's gotta happen. So yeah, this is gonna be interesting. The only thing, and I'm not trying to jinx it, the only thing that could happen is if, and only if, Rock's team, his lawyers or whatever team it is, his representatives, come out and say, no, Rock, his agents, if you will. And again, I'm not trying to jinx this, but the only thing that could prevent this from happening again is if his agents once more come in and say, no, you're not doing this. You're not doing a match with Roman. Not ever. No, you're not doing it. That's the only way. But if his schedule is open, from a movie perspective, then I think he could. I think he can. But we'll have to see. It's up to WWE now. It's up to them. It's up to Rock. It's up to Roman. The talking's over. You have WWE on its own YouTube page and social media accounts acknowledging that Rock called out Roman Reigns. So enough stalling, enough talking, enough saying, and now it's time to do the walking, and now it's time to do the doing. You've talked the talk, now it's time to walk the walk. You've said and said, now it's time to do and do. You spoke the words, now it's time to do the action. And that's pretty much it. You've spoke the words, now it's time, to make the actions a reality. Or make those words into an action reality, if you know what I mean. Because because come on, they even teased it, on the Young Rock show. Come on. Enough teasing. You have the social media accounts of WWE, WWE on USA, WWE on Fox, acknowledging who he's talking about, who he's calling out. Time to make it a reality. And if not, then as much as I respect and love The Rock and all that, as much as we all do, he needs to stop calling out Roman Reigns and teasing this if it's not going to happen. But now, You got all this happening. You got everybody talking. You got the company's own social media accounts acknowledging who he's talking about and calling out. It's time to make this happen. And how it's done, hopefully they got that set in motion. Hopefully it does not disturb or interrupt Cody Rhodes' quest for the championship. So we'll see what they do. But let me know what your thoughts are in the live chat as well as in the comments below. Do you think this match will finally happen? Or do you think maybe it's just another red herring that may not go anywhere? Let me know what your thoughts are. All right. Number 6. Our 6th topic of today. 3 Games of Thrones GOTs animated series coming soon to Max? But why? Well, the reason I bring this up is because I was watching a clip from the John Campea show the other day. And get well, John Campea. He's at home right now, I think. He was in the hospital, but now I think he's back at home. Because I think he's overexhausted himself or something. I'm not really sure. But anyway, get well, John. Hope to see you again on your show. But anyway, in one of the last show, in the show he did on New Year's Day, him and Rob Burnett. On that show, one of the topics they talked about was the fact that the guy that wrote Game of Thrones, the guy that wrote Game of Thrones and the spinoff House of Dragons, I think it's a spinoff or prequel, one of them, basically announced that he's got not 1 but 3 animated series in the works. One of them is based on the Serpent of the Sea or the Sea Snake story or something like that. But yeah, he's got like 3 animated series in the works. He said they haven't been greenlit yet, but they are in the works to where if they do get greenlit, we're going to see them become a reality. Very similar, I think, as Campea pointed out, very similar to how House of Dragons was in the works, but had not been greenlit, and when it was, now we see the result. But here's the question. Why? Why is he wanting to do animated series on Game of Thrones? Well, it's the same reason we're getting a Lord of the Rings animated film later this year or in 2025. As well as maybe a Lord of the Rings animated series on Prime down the line. Because of the reason being is because you can do a lot more with animation. Whether it's CGI, a blending of 2D and CGI, whether it's Flash 2D, Toon Boom 2D, Toon Boom 2D, I should say. Excuse me, easy for me to say. Whether it's 2D Flash, traditional 2D, Toon Boom 2D, Toon Harmony 2D, you name it. Like I said, blending of CGI 2D, you get the idea. With animation, nowadays, you could do, and even in the past, you could do a lot more with it. You could do things that you cannot do in live action, either because of expense either for the expense of sets that need to be made, or otherwise. Or there are certain elements in the stories that can only be told through animation. Or even anime, depending. But, that is why you have a lot of these shows that started out live action wise. And again, this is all done in the past too. In the past 40 plus years, this has been done. You have a lot of these shows that have started out live action wise that go the animation route because there's only a certain amount of stories you could tell within the realm of live action that you can now only tell in animation. Like you could tell certain aspects of the story and what you want to convey with the characters in live action, and that's great. But when it comes to animation, you could do a lot more. You could do a lot more. I mean, let's say you want to take the lead female character from GOT, and say, okay, we want to do a story to where she makes a potion out of a dragon's blood. She drinks it, and she turns into a dragon who starts losing her. And as a dragon, she starts to lose herself the longer she's in that form and everything. And it's up to her colleagues and people to reverse the situation to get her back to normal before they lose her forever to being just a dragon. You could do, now here's the thing, you could do that in live action. You see the CGI and everything that they're working on with House of Dragons and what they've done in GOT. But again, there's just so much you can do on that forefront. Making those CGI dragons is not cheap. They're not cheap. So what do you do to really get around that? Especially, let's say you want to go that kind of a route with a story. You go animation route. You go the animation route. For example, let's say in, they have a story to where the characters face an enemy, and the enemy has the power to absorb them into the body. Like, let's say it's a slime creature, and it absorbs them into the body, and then as a result, you see the faces, poke out in an imprint / visage on the creature's body in a moaning like expression, and you realize that they're trapped in there and everything, but because they've been absorbed, the abilities are now part of the creature, and the only way to get them out is to destroy the creature, and everything. So, so you could, now here's the thing, like I said, you could do that in live action, with the CGE and everything, but again, expense. It's all about saving money. And some people say, well, animation's not that cheap either. That's true, but it's a lot. But despite it being not cheap, in its own right and everything, basically it's still more of a sensible storyline, a sensible way to go from a storyline perspective. So that's why you see a lot of, that's why you've seen in the past 40 plus years, 50 plus years, a lot of animated shows based on live action shows, comedies, dramas, whatever, because there are stories, like I mentioned, that they could only do in animation that they can't do in live action. I mean, why do you think sometimes, like even during the pandemic, they did episodes in animation for some of these sitcoms or supernatural sci-fi shows? Why do you think they did them in animation? Because there are only certain aspects that they could do in animation. Like, let's say Lucifer, the Lucifer one, if you will. For the time you had the two main characters, basically end up in an animated world, and that was, and the only way that story could be told is by putting them in animation, and not putting them in a CGI animated world. Let's say a la Son of the Mask, if you will, or The Mask period. There's a difference. There's a difference in everything to what you can do, what you can get away with and everything. And, in animation, they can do a lot more. They can do a hell of a lot more, period. So, so to me, that's why I think that's why when I hear I should say, that the guy behind Game of Thrones, GOT, as a whole, as a franchise, books and everything, is wanting to do an animated series, 3 animated series, one based on the Sea Snake story or whatever it's called. I think he wants to do it because he knows there's certain elements in these stories, or in that story as well as the other 2 stories that he wants to do a GOT animated series on, that could only be done in animation. Because of the fact that even if he tried in live action, like I said, there are certain aspects of it that would not be possible unless they really want to shell out. They want to shell out money to make the effects look believable CGI wise. So from an animation perspective, they could do a lot more. They can do a lot more, like I mentioned. But but at the end of the day, first of all, he's got to get it greenlit. Like, he's working on them, he's working on the ideas, but at the end of the day, he's got to get it greenlit. And then once he gets it greenlit and it's in production and gets finished and everything, it's going to be up to the viewers when they view it on Max, if it's going to be on Max or wherever. It's going to be up to them to judge whether or not they like it or they don't. So we'll have to just wait and see. If you're a Game of Thrones fan or House of Dragons fan, you're just going to have to wait and see if what he has planned and what he has in store, from an animation perspective, will work. Because again, you could do only so much, even with CGI and everything, very good CGI and such. You can only do so much, when it in live action with that technology, than what you could do in regular animation. So we'll see what they do. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know how you feel about, potentially these 3 Game of Thrones animated series. We know of one that's going to be based on the sea snake thing, but what are the other 2 going to be based on, do you think? What do you think the other 2, I should say, are going to be based on? Let me know in the live chat as well as in the comments down below. But yeah, 3 of those, if you're Game of Thrones fans, are coming. And again, let me know which ones outside of the sea snake one, what other Game of Thrones stories do you think might be turned into animated series down the line? All right, number 7. Why is the first thing creators go to when a major IP goes into public domain is horror/R-rated material? And here's the thing, that is a good question. Why is it? Why is that the first thing? Well, quite frankly, it's because, as kids, even as we got older, through our fanfics, and I mentioned this in one of my videos. Well, I mentioned this actually when I was talking about the announcement of the Steamboat Willie movie that's going to be going into production in the spring. I talked about this, and to me, what it really comes down to is, as kids growing up, as we grow up, get into our adolescent years, as teenagers and all that, one of the things that always, piqued our curiosity is what would happen if said character or characters, were placed in a situation different than what we know them in, or different than what the people behind them have them in. That's always going through our minds, and especially as we get older and become adults, that curiosity gets stronger. Like, man, what would happen if so and so was involved in this kind of a situation instead of what they're known to be part of? That's what's always piques our curiosity from when we're young to even now. Like what would it be like? That's why you have people like myself on occasions. That's why you have people like myself, and I mentioned this in that video talking about the Steamboat Willie deal. That's why you have people like myself and many others doing fan works, fan webcomics, fan animations, fan GIFs, fanfic stories of characters, of IP characters in situations that normally you wouldn't read about or see them in, and sometimes it could even come at the cost of them, or not cost, but it could even come about because you want to see what they would be like in these kind of situations. Like, your curiosity will, basically make you want to type on your computer, these ideas. They make you want to type them out. So I almost had a brain freeze there. I was trying to think about what I was going to say. But yeah, that's why a lot of people tend to go that route, especially if they study in the field of movies and all that, motion picture, movies, filming, editing, and all that. That's why when they go into those fields of study in college or even prior to college and high school, that's why they explore those areas. That's why they want to go and dive deep, if you will, in those areas. Because of the fact that they know eventually they're going to get an opportunity to not only create their own stories, their own original IPs, but there could come a time to where they might have the opportunity to do something with an establishing IP that they can't do, or that has never been done before. And again, this is why when, for us, as fans, we have these fan GIFs, fan animations, fan webcomics, fan works, fan arts, fan fictions, to where we put the characters in situations that normally we wouldn't see them in, even at the cost of maybe people not being too happy about it or thrilled about it. But we as fans would have to explain to them, hey, it's just our opportunity through these non-profit works, which is why they're called fan works and fan fiction and everything. It's just us trying to explore what would it be like if so and so was doing this instead of what they're known for, period. And, this is why sometimes you see, as I've mentioned before, Tails, Miles Prower of the Sonic the Hedgehog fame, aged up sometimes, in adult fan fiction stories where he's getting it on, literally, with either Sally Acorn, or Bunny Rabbit, or he's actually getting on with Sally's mom, Alicia Acorn, Queen Alicia from the Archie books, or he's getting it on with Sonic's mom, Bernadette from the Archie books, or heck, he's even getting it on with his own mom in an incense kind of way, you know. And it's all because fans are curious as to like how something like this would happen, and then that's out of that curiosity. That's when a lot of these ideas spring up of, okay, what if he was doing this? What if we aged him up here? What if we did that and this? And so on. And fan animations are the same way. Fan web comics and all that, they're all very similar. And again, as I mentioned in that one video, the reason they can't get really in trouble for it is they're not making money off it. It's just fan work. And they even disclaim at the beginning or at the end of the fan work, or the fan fiction or whatever, it's not associated with Sega. It's not associated with Disney. It's not associated with Warner Brothers or anything. These are fan works. These are non-profit. So that's why that's why when a lot of IPs, major or mid-major, go into public domain after 95 years or less, or even more, but mostly 95 years or less, this is why a lot of people that grew up on these IPs, that, like I said, took that study of field and filming and photography and animation and all that, this is why they decide, okay, now opportunities here, let's do something that we could have never done before because they were under this copyright protection. They see, opportunity, like with Mickey Mouse and a year or two before with Winnie the Pooh, and now with even Tigger being put into the equation, and Popeye next year possibly, they look at it as their opportunity to say, let's do something that we could have never done with these characters, that's never been thought of. Now, the interesting thing, like I've mentioned before and others have mentioned before, and again, a shout out to Clownfish TV and Geeks and Gamers, I should say. One thing that's interesting, mind you, is the fact that they know that they could do this, but they also know they got to tread very, very carefully. In other words, they got to become very innovative and very creative of how they basically go and do these public domain use these public domain representation of these characters. They got to be careful of how they utilize them in what they have planned. Which is why when you look at Mickey's Mousetrap, you have people like Clownfish TV saying, yeah, that's going to get them in trouble. And like I said in the first topic here on this live stream, to me, they're going to have to change that up to avoid going into any lawsuit or cease and desist with Disney. The same with Inversed and what they got planned. They're going to have to change things up in a big, big way. The point that I'm getting at, though, is, people, they look at this as the opportunity they've been waiting for, but they also know they got to be very careful of how they tread. Like, they got to make sure, okay, this is not the Disney version. We got to make that perfectly clear. We got to do this. We got to do something to really show that or mention that or bring that up. Or, mention and bring that up is pretty much the same, but you get the idea. It's like they got to basically be like with Infant Station Origins, formerly Infant Station 88, the way they had Mickey designed there, and I showed you that earlier, that's a good way to basically say this is not this is Steamboat Willie, but it's not the way, Disney would trademark him. This is not the way Disney would present him. This is a Steamboat Willie of our design, because you can alter it. You can alter that design to where it's like, let's make him be a rotting, mutated rat, or whatever, or this and that. You can do that, but you got to tread carefully. You got to tread very carefully on how it's presented, how it's brought up. If you know what I mean. You got to tread very, very carefully. And that's a fact. That is a logical fact. Because even if I wanted to, even if I had the money, which I don't, but even if I wanted to, do something like, take Steamboat Willie here and say, okay, I'm going to put like a Joker face on his mouth here, a little blood coming down here and everything. And I'm going to say, okay, here's Steamboat Willie slasher film and everything. Or here's Undead Steamboat Willie as a killer clown. Or an undead killer clown. You know, if I wanted to, and I wanted to do it like I mentioned, you know, change the design a little bit, then fine. That's not an issue. It's not an issue because at least I'm treading carefully. Like, okay, I'm using the character design, the IP, but I'm using it in a way that's not going to get me in trouble. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Infestation Origins is doing. That's what it looks like the Steamboat Willie movie is going to be doing. But the Mickey's Mouse Hunt, they got to be totally careful about that. You know, they got to really fix it, and so does Inverse as well. They really got to, you know, look at what they're trying to present. You know, they got to look at what they're trying to present and be like, okay, maybe we need to change this up. And I'm guaranteeing you, a lot of the people that they're working with, a lot of the family and friends are like, yeah, you're gonna have to fix this. You're gonna get in trouble. I guarantee somebody's talking to them. Maybe even the lawyers. Who knows? But yeah, basically when it comes to these major IPs and everything, as I was mentioning, you know, or mid-major IPs or notable ones, period. Anytime they go into the public domain after 95 years or less, depending on how long the copyright lasts and everything, people will jump on them to do whatever they want with them. Period. They will jump on them. I mean, in the early 2030s, I think what was it, 33 and 34, I believe, 33 and 34, back to back. Or at least it's 33. I can't remember. Let me see. 33 to 33 is 100. Trying to think about something. Hold on. Trying to think. Hold on. Let me try some. I do apologize for any lag here. I do apologize for lag. Hold on. Okay, that didn't work. Alright, that didn't work, so I do apologize that, and I do apologize for any lag, period. But mainly 95 years or less. So if we think about it, 33 to 33 is 100. So 1933 to 2033 is like 100 years. But you minus that, and you say, well, that's 95. Well, you minus that, you say, well, wait a minute, 5 years would be 28. You know, wouldn't that mean that Superman should be in public domain now? You would think that, but it's not true. It's not true. He's not in public domain yet. Because you see, 28 to 28 is 100. You minus 5 away from that. You know, you minus 5 away from that. So you're looking at, you know, 2028. Oh, not 2028, but you're looking at 1920. It's confusing. It's confusing. But yeah, 1928 to 28. Trying to think, because we know that next year in 2025 will be 95 years for Popeye. We know and then that basically means that Popeye was like 29, I think, or something. I'm not really sure, or when the copyright was. Let me check some again. I do apologize for any lag. I do apologize. Here you go. 2034. 2034. At the end of 2023 in 2034. So yeah, basically, basically, according to Wikipedia, The Superman as he is depicted in Action Comics #1 will become public domain in 2034, along with other story elements such as Lois Lane in the city of Metropolis. So that's what's going to be interesting. That's what's going to be interesting in all that. And then the following year, Batman goes in public domain, and then 2 years after Superman goes into public domain, Wonder Woman goes into public domain. So there we go. 1938. So yeah, it would be five. So yeah, it would be 5 years less. That's what I was looking at. So it would be 5 years less in everything. And again, I do apologize for any lag. Do apologize. But yeah, 1938 he was created. So in 33, 34, he will go into public domain. So he will go into public domain. But again, it's like with Superman, people are like, okay, how are you going to be able to use Superman? And like I just read there, basically, you'll only be able to use that iteration of Superman, nothing else. And what's interesting is somebody, I think Geeks and Gamers, shout out to them again, brought this up. They said, well, DC, because apparently, according to a report, James Gunn, not only is going to be overseeing the new change in the DC with the new DCU for live action films and stuff, but we might also get a new DC logo, like opening logo and all that to go with it, to correspond with it. And I think they mentioned, or at least alluded to, the fact that there are rumors, speculation, that will involve, that Warner Brothers, DC, if you will, James Gunn, will utilize the 1938 Superman, the Action Comics #1 Superman, as part of that logo. So that way, they don't have to worry about it. Now, here's what's interesting, though. When they celebrated Superman's 75th anniversary, I think that's when they did this. They did an animation, a little short animation, showing Superman evolving throughout the years. So they used that Action Comics version right there. So it makes you wonder if they've already trademarked that. And again, that's going to make things interesting if people want to do something with Superman, at least that iteration of Superman and Lois Lane. Back then, at that time, will they be able to do it? Because things are going to get a little tricky. So yeah, people, so basically getting back to what I was saying, people, they look at, these trademarks, or not trademarks, but they look at these things going to the public domain and they're like, they are just salivating at what they plan to do. And one of the first things they plan to go in, first genres they plan to go in is horror, because again, like I mentioned at the start, our curiosity, even as kids and as we get older, it's like, what would happen if this character was in this situation and they did this, unlike what they are known to do and be in under, the corporate umbrella they're under right now. That's the curiosity that gets our minds rolling. And, and once we get older, we go into, study film, go and maybe take a class and all that. The reason we do that is our major goal. Our first major goal out of all of that, if you will, our first major goal is to basically, create something when the opportunity presents itself, of an IP that, that in its current state would never get created, but once it gets free to the public, basically it'll be like, hey, free game, as best as free game. As best as we can. But yeah, basically when you wonder why people do it, it's because it's that curiosity. Like, what would happen if you made Superman? Like with Superman, you can't tell me people won't be like, because technology honestly will evolve even more so. Will evolve even more so as we get close to 2033. But people will be like, not people, but you gotta, people will be wondering, as we get closer to that, in the next 9 years, they're going to be wondering, ooh, what would Superman be? Because they'll be on their computers, they'll be on their phones, on their tablets, their touch screens, whatever, and they'll be like, ooh, what kind of ideas can we come up for Superman, come 2033, like, ooh, what if Superman was a super villain, not a superhero that goes on a murder spree? See, that's the first thing that goes to the mind. Like, what would happen if he was a killer, a slasher with superpowers? That's what people want to know. It's like, what if he was this? And now, treading very carefully, they would have that opportunity. But, like I mentioned, there's rumors going to Geeks and Gamers that too, just like with the Steamboat Willie situation, could be a can of worms that you can open up and a few could get out and everything, and that's fine. But it's also a can of worms that you might have to reseal because there are certain aspects of it you can't let out or won't be let out. Because the same with Batman in 2035, 2036, same thing with Wonder Woman. Certain aspects of them you can use, certain ones you can't. So basically, when people hear about these IPs going into public domain, it's like, first come, first serve. First come, first serve. So when you look at let's say one of the major ones going into public domain in the next decade, is Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz, the live action film with Judy Garland. That goes into public domain, in the next decade or so. Imagine people, once they get their hands on that, they can say, okay, the Judy Garland, Dorothy, the Wicked Witch, the Good Witch, all of them of that movie, free reign now, free reign. People, you cannot tell me that people won't be like, well, now we're going to change it up to where Judy's character, Dorothy, basically uses the ruby slippers to turn herself into the witch, switch roles with the witch, and then she melts into a puddle, or whatever. They'll come up with weird, sadistic, crazy ways to basically alter that story in ways it was never meant to be altered. Unless, basically, Warner Brothers decides, okay, we need to trademark this as well. And they can do that. And that's the issue that's tricky with a lot of these major studios and corporations. Even if something goes into public domain, they could say, well, yes, you guys have rights to those characters, but not necessarily, because we trademarked this character, we trademarked this, we trademarked that, trademarked this. They will do that. They will trademark the whole freaking picture if they wanted to, despite it being public domain, and that would limit to you very, very, and that would limit to you very, very hard. To the point that you'll be like, what's the point of it even being public domain if we can't use any of it? What's the point? It's one of those situations to us like, what's the point? But we'll have to see what they got. But we'll have to see what happens in the next 6 years, which this decade has left in it, 6 to 5 years, as well as what happens in the following decade. Because again, a lot of things are going into public domain after 95 years. After 95 years, a lot of things are going into public domain. If something is made in 1940, guess what? In 2036, public domain. If something's made in 1945, guess what? 1940 or 1941, public domain. Or 1940, public domain. Period. Or actually, 41, 42 actually. 1941, 42, public domain. Anything made in 1977, guess what? 2073, public domain. If any of us are still around by then, if the rapture doesn't happen, or God doesn't say, rapture, here's how the rapture is going to happen. We're going to reset the world, poof, and we're all basically immortal. We're all forgiven of our sins, all immortal, and everything basically as we are right now. But it's still the same timeline. It's still the 2070s, or if not before then. 2073, yeah, Star Wars goes into public domain. Anybody can do what they want with it. But by then, I think any ideas of going the horror route will be wiped from our minds. And it'll be like, how can we make this all sweet and cuddly? Or more, religious based, more Bible based. No offense, God. No offense. But you get the idea. You get the idea, right? You know, basically, you know, you'll be able to do certain things with the characters, but if they get trademarked, that's a different story. But getting back on topic here, like I said, the reason people go the horror / R-rated material route is because it's curiosity. It's curiosity. Like I mentioned, as a kid, you don't think about it. Oh, you do think about it, but not as much. But as you get older, that thought gets back into your mind. Like, what would it be like if Mickey Mouse, in any shape or form, was a killer, was a slasher in a horror film? Or what would it be like if Minnie Mouse, because the Steamboat Willie version of Minnie Mouse, the Plain Crazy version, the Plain Crazy version, not the sound version of Plain Crazy, the silent version of Minnie Mouse. Those are all public domain. I think it's the Groucho one, the Groucho one, what is it? The Galloping Groucho. I think that's the one. The Galloping Groucho and Steamboat Willie are in public domain. But those versions of Mickey and Minnie, treading very lightly, can be utilized. Innovatively and creatively, treading can be utilized. And again, people think about it like, what would it be like if Mickey of any form was a horror icon, a slasher, a killer in a horror film? Same with Minnie Mouse. They could be like, what would Minnie Mouse be like if we put her in a NC-17 adult film, softcore, hardcore movie where she has lesbian sex with an OC character that she falls in love with? People have the right to do that now. People have a right to do that. So, it'll be interesting to see what other ideas they have planned and how they skirt around it, skew around it to avoid lawsuits and cease and desist and all that. But again, people decide to. The reason people decide to go with this route is the curiosity of like, how crazy can we get with it if we decide to go this, if this was to happen, if this was to happen, if we had the opportunity to do this, and what would people's reaction be if it happens? A lot of people were not happy with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, but that made box office money. Maybe not enough to keep it from bombing, but still it made enough money to where now they were giving a bigger budget, and through the stills and photos that you see, the movie's going to be more cleaner, more polished, and it's going to have the inclusion of the first appearance of Tigger. So it's and basically that was all. And basically, this is all happening because people probably working on it already before the public domain went out or public domain happened. Did it out of curiosity. The person that wrote that story, Blood and Honey, typed it up, was doing it out of curiosity of what would it be if Winnie the Pooh was a killer, a slasher, or what would happen if Christopher Robin grew up and left them, and how would they act? Would they be understanding, or would they go back to being, or would they become cannibals? Stuff like that. It's curiosity. It's like what would be. And because of that, we got the sequel on a bigger budget now. The point is, no matter how you think about it or look at it, the first thing people do is go in that route because, they grew up with these characters as kids, being used to how they saw them. But as they get older, they're wondering, what would it be like if they were like this? And that's a fact. That's a fact. So that's always why, when you think about it, people go the route that they do. That's why they always go the routes that they do. They don't go the route just because, we just want to troll people and everything. We want to be jerks and all that. No, they do it out of curiosity. They do it out of curiosity, period. They do it out of curiosity because, like I said, we grew up on it one way, but what if it was this way? So That's why basically when a lot of major IPs, notable IPs, mid-major IPs go into public domain, this is why the first direction people go in, genre-wise is horror and R-rated material. Or sometimes, like I mentioned, if they wanted to do Minnie Mouse, that version of Minnie Mouse, basically, the Galloping Gaucho and Steamboat Willie, why they go the route, why they may want to decide to go the adult soft-core route, if you know what I mean. But, hopefully I made some sense there on this topic, but, that's why they do it, because it's curiosity is what it is. It's curiosity, period. Anyway, with that said, let's get on to our eighth and final topic, and that is 2024 celebrates 40 years of Transformers. That's right. That's right. It is officially 40 years. I don't know when the exact date is, but this year marks 40 years of Transformers. And I'm going to tell you honestly, guys, and I've talked about this before, and I'll probably do a live stream later if I decide to do it. But for me, I've been a fan of Transformers most of my life, if not my entire life. Long story short, and I've talked about this before, I believe. My mom used to homeschool me back in the early to mid 80s because I wasn't ready mentally. I wasn't ready, and of course I had physical issues that I was still working on. Because I had Hirschsprung's disease when I was a kid. But anyway, and that affected my bowels and everything. So long story short, it just I still was still working on basically work. I was still working on that. I was still fixing. I was still kind of, I guess you could say, bouncing back. I mean, I was a normal kid and everything. I was still a normal kid. I was a normal kid and all that. Playing with my toys, watching TV and everything. But because of that setback, I was still adjusting, if you will, even at 4 or 5 years old, still adjusting. But anyway, long story short, during that time, my mom would homeschool me while my two sisters went to regular school. She would homeschool me from about, I would say, 8:30 to 11:30 or 9 to 12, something like that. And then afterwards, I would eat lunch and I would watch TV. I would watch WTBS for Tom and Jerry's Super Fun House. I would go into my room. I would go in my room and I'd play with my toys. End of story. That's what I would do. But as a kid, I would also watch TV. Like I said, I would watch TV. Like I mentioned, my mom would put me in front of the TV to watch, Tom and Jerry's Super Fun House on WTBS and other cartoons. But one of the more notable cartoons I would watch on the weekends and not just Saturday mornings was Transformers. I would watch that, religiously day by day, on a daily basis. Like I said, for me and my sisters, it went like this. My Little Pony G1 was on around like 2:30 or something like that. They were on at 2:30. I'm trying to think. They were on at 2:30 or something. Then you had, I think, Thundercats. You had Silverhawks and Thundercats. No, you didn't have Silverhawks and Thundercats. You basically had. Well, I'll look at it this way. Okay. We had I look at it as the Hasbro block. We had Gem, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, and Transformers. That's what it was. It was My Little Pony, it was Gem, it was Transformers, G.I. Joe. That's what it was. And it was all on KTVU2 from San Francisco. We didn't live in San Francisco, but that's where it was stationed at. San Francisco, Oakland, if you will. KTVU, which is now Fox 2. But, yeah, I used to watch that, religiously day by day. My sisters would watch their shows, I would watch mine. End of story. And I've always been a fan. Unfortunately, even though my dad made some good money at his job, financially he didn't make enough to where I could get. I mean, we got some good toys when we were kids, especially during Christmas. Don't get me wrong about that. But But here's the thing. When it came to like Transformers, I never really got much until I got a little older, like a few years older. Then that's when I think I got Grappler, and I think I got Sludge. Well, not Sludge, but Snarl. That's when I got Grappler and Snarl one year. But, and then of course I got this big man. That's not the original one, but it's pretty much the same one. That's not the original one I got for my birthday. I mean, it could be, and it just got back in my hand somehow, But no, that's a different one. But I also got that from when I was a kid. Point is basically, my parents originally never had money to get me Transformers back when it started because they were expensive. So they got me GoBots, which was good too. They were good too because I used to watch GoBots as well. But the point I'm getting at, I was always a big Transformers fan. Always big. And I remember one day watching television, watching Transformers, and I saw the commercial come up for the movie. As well as I saw previews for the third season. I'm thinking, who are these guys? Like, I saw Ultra Magnus on them. I'm thinking, what's going on here? And then, like I said, I saw previews for the movie. I'm like, and my eyes were just like, there's a movie? And then, of course, one day my mom called me, and I was in my room playing with my toys, and my mom calls me into the living room saying, Brian, take a look at this. And it was MTV. She had it on MTV. I think she had it on there because she would listen to some music, even if it wasn't her kind of music. And she showed me what it was, and it was the Touch video by Stan Bush. Just imagine in the same year, 1986, I saw the Touch video by Stan Bush for the Transformers movie, thanks to my mom telling me about it. And then my mom also points out to me Sledgehammer music video by Peter Gabriel. Go figure. Which, that Sledgehammer video, let's be honest, even though we now know what it was really about, just the way it was presented, it's no wonder why kids were into it. If you know what I mean. It's no wonder. But anyway, like I said, I was excited, very much excited. Unfortunately, I could not see the movie in theaters or, at the drive-thru or anything because, like I said, I was like 4, 5, 7 years old, and mentally I wasn't not ready yet for that experience, like I would be a few years later. Because again, I was doing I had done homeschool, and when the movie came out, I had just entered kindergarten and everything. So yeah, basically I couldn't. I basically couldn't, see it in theaters or anything like that. So what we did, long story short, is we waited until it came out on video, and my dad contacted Neighborhood Video in Hayward, reserved it, because I saw, because one of the things about these mom and pop, video rental places, local video rental places, is they would have, of course, just like with Blockbuster later on and all that, they would have these posters, if not these whiteboards with, one side saying what's new and what was coming. And on the side that said what was coming, it said Transformers. And then I think in the window it had a poster of the movie, for the movie. So my dad basically said, hey, if you're good, we'll reserve it. So I behaved, and we reserved it. And apparently it was, a lot of kids wanted it. So I reserved it. I think I was like one of the first that reserved it, to watch it. And I can tell you honestly, when we saw it, I had this big gray pillow, and I've mentioned this before, and when it came to like the death of Optimus, I put my head under that pillow like, I don't want to watch this. I mean, my sister, I even put something up because somebody on the Transformers Facebook pages posted this, so I shared it, and my older sister's like, yeah, Brian, you were crying, we know that. And it's like, yeah, if I was, you didn't see it, because I put my head under the pillow and everything. But I can tell you honestly, even though I can't distinguishedly, even though I can't distinguishedly remember, I can tell you honestly, my mom was probably shocked, if not was shocked, at how violent it was. Because, she's used to me watching it on television, but she didn't expect it to be like that, But, yeah, I remember watching that and everything, and just, like I said, as you know, throughout the years after it, when I would still watch it, still rent it, and everything, you know, I could not see it. I could not see that scene without turning my head and everything. But now I could see it because now I know, as a lot of people put it, it's a very iconic scene. It's like, it's what made people, you know, talk about the movie for years. Like, you know, in discussions at panels, at conventions and everything. Like, wow, I can't believe they did this. You know, I can't believe they went and did that. You know. But yeah, I remember watching it so many times. According to my sisters, I watched it 1,000,000 times, probably more so than I should have. But anyway, it would take time. It would take time, but as I got older, made my own money, worked and everything, finally I was able to get my own Transformers. I was. Not just ones that were given to me as a kid, because I don't know what happened to those, God only knows. But I was finally able to get my own Transformers. Even up to today, I was finally able to get these guys. So, finally able to get my own Transformers. If I can just put it back under here. There we go. I was finally able to get my own stuff. I mean, heck, I have the Titans class Metroplex and Fortress Maximus on hand right now. I don't have the other Titan class ones. I got to get those eventually. They're still around. But yeah, I got those. So it tells you I did kind of make up for, you know, what I couldn't get when I was a kid, and understandably so. I mean, there's a lot of people that have done interviews that have become Transformers collectors that have said, look, when we were kids, you know, our parents couldn't afford much. So all they got was they just got us what they could. You know, if they could get a Transformer for us, it was a cheaper one. If they couldn't and they got us to go buy, very understandable. You know, so just like a lot of fans at that time, growing up, made up for what I couldn't. Because I had my own money, I was able to do it. You know? I mean, again, you take a look behind me, I was able to get that back, because I don't know what happened to my original one. And then look over there, you got that Optimus Prime, which was the one they promoted at a San Diego Comic-Con one year, as for the 20th anniversary of the movie. And then you look up there, I got the Covenant of Primus. I mean, I think I've done good so far, very good, which is why, you know, financially I got to hold back on what I could spend, because I'm not working right now, and things EDD wise not looking so good as well unless I reapply and I get approved to get more money. Unless I'm not working unless I don't have a job by then, which I hopefully should. But yeah, you know, I've been a Transformers fan for a majority of its run. So, you know, there's not much more I could say about it right now. I do plan to do a video down the line. It might be a live stream. It might be, you know, might be just a regular recording. But I'm going to talk about it. You know, for 40 years. 40 years of Transformers. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable of how far we've come with that franchise and all the iterations that we've gotten. But I've always been a fan, and I'm always going to be a fan. There's no denying that. If there's one thing my sisters can take away from me growing up as a kid, is that even though they find it still a little strange that I'm into MLP because of, you know, G4 and even G5, because of the fact that they're presented in a way that fans feel are more respectable, you know, for adults to understand. You know, that grew up with the earlier generations, despite, you know, them being a little weirded out, but understandingly weirded out, that I'm a fan of that. They know that above that, it's always going to be Transformers. And that's a fact. Always going to be Transformers. And there's no denying it. No denying it. But yeah, 40 years, it's hard to believe. And can't wait to see how others celebrate it on its exact anniversary. But that's all I'm really going to say on it. So, till next time when I do a video or another live stream talking about it, That's all I'm going to say. But let me know what your memories are on Transformers in the past 40 years, the different iterations that you've seen. Let me know. Love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments below, as well as in the live chat during the stream here. That now we are coming into closing. So yeah, just want to. So yeah, that's the last topic, and now time to close up shop for right now. But thank you all for joining me for this first Topics on My Mind live stream and first live stream period of 2024. Hope you guys all had a good and safe Happy New Year. I know some of you are still on vacation as we speak. Some of you don't go back to school or work till next week. So enjoy your time with your family and friends. And, be safe out there and everything. And if you're still celebrating Christmas, because believe it or not, there are people that are still celebrating Christmas even as we speak because of schedule conflicts, or maybe because it's a kind of a family thing to where, we got to go to this family, got to go to that family, got to go to da. Enjoy. Enjoy your time. Have fun. Hope you got and get what you were hoping for. But yeah, really, that's all I can say on it, guys. All I can say for today, guys. And again, thank you all for joining me live. You can help me out description-wise on that description, but you can help me out in the following links in the description. Check out my Teespring store for items you can't get anywhere else. Start out the new year for some new items that I think you'll enjoy. Also, support me on my BW Roses Discussions podcast. Also, which you can find at all various locations except for Pandora. Also, find me at DEVIANTART at BVW1979. I think that's the place. So BVW1979 or BVW179, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, check me out at DEVIANTART at BVW179, I believe. Let me double check on that, guys, so you don't get confused or anything. And I do apologize for any lag. Yeah, BVW1979. That's what it is. I got it right the first time. BVW1979. Check me out there at DeviantArt.com. And also check me out at inkbunny.net at BW Roses as well. BW Roses 98, one of them. Inkbunny.net at BW Roses. You can check me there as well. And again, guys, check out my Teespring store. That would help me out a lot. Also, support me and if you want to, support me at Venmo and at Cash App. They are both also in the description. But yeah, guys, thank you all for watching. Enjoyed your support throughout the past year, which celebrated 15 years last year. And here is the start to maybe 15 more here in 2024. Hopefully, we see another 15 years with this channel. But until next time, guys, I will talk to y'all later. You all have a good day.